Dis- Disclaimer. We are two regular guys who love to talk Bone Thugs and Harmony. We do not represent Bone Thugs or any Bone affiliate. We are also not Bone Thugs experts. The views and information you hear in this podcast may be based on personal opinion. Please feel free to leave corrections and clarifying information in the comments. And enjoy. What's up, y'all? It's Cecil West, Beyond the Harmony, beyondtheharmony.com, here live with the one and only
and healthy Jonathan Lippy.
And we're giving this one final test. We appreciate everybody that's been rocking out with us for the last about 40 minutes. There seems to be such an issue between us and YouTube, and I'm hoping that we've got it worked out. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Anything can happen on the live edition. This is why I love the pre-record, Johnny.
Yeah, you know, no fear, no pain, no gain. We push it to the limit. So
yeah, and we've had some incredible lives. I think the lives, all hate aside for it, I think the lives have been some of the I think it's been some of the best content because we get to interact with the listeners, and that's my favorite thing to do. So I'm hoping it works out. If you guys are live in the chat, remember, go share this new link. This is a brand new link for this one, so share this on your social media. Try to paste this in the BTNH board and maybe the Bone Cult for us, so people see the new link, because the old one is pasted up everywhere. So I'm hoping this new one, I hope we're working out now. If you guys can hear us loud and clear in the chat, let me know, because we are rocking out live on the quarantine edition of Beyond the Harmony.
Yes. So I don't know. Hopefully we get some of that audience back that we had before. We had a good thing going in the chat as well. It's too bad sometimes these technical difficulties happen. But every single live we've had, the best part about it is you never know who's going to call in. You never know what's going to happen. None of this is scripted. None of this is planned. So it's that real spur of the moment thing.
Yeah. The lives, especially the lives, especially the last two. When we bring a guest on, we got them planned out pretty big. But when we do these off the cuff, just lives, it's just us hitting the button. Push the
Yeah,
fucking button. Let's
yeah,
go.
and on that previous when we previously went live, we were doing the good warm up on the COVID, the coronavirus, and to not repeat things, I do kind of want to ask you just to kind of think about it. If we were kids right now in school, whether it's middle school or high school, I almost would say take your mind to middle school. If we were on a quarantine, would you be upset? Would you be upset that you couldn't go to school? Did we lose Cecil?
I would be pumped that we were not at school.
Absolutely, yeah, same here. So what do you think you'd be doing back then as a kid and present day as a kid?
Well, it's a different world now, right? Like back then as a kid, the thing that would make it hard is because you're not supposed to hang out, right? So it's like you're not supposed to go hang out with your friends. So that would have been hard. That would have been the hard piece. Depending on what age I was, though. When I was a real young kid, I was real. We had a lot of property as a kid, so I was real outdoorsy, and I would have just been hanging out outside. When I got in my teens, it would have sucked. I would not have been happy about staying at home.
Do you think you and your friends would have been like, man, F that quarantine. We're going to play basketball. I don't
Oh
care.
yeah, fuck those rules. We would we would have fucking we wouldn't have been good. Wouldn't have been good. And that's why I tell motherfuckers, I'm like, I know I'm getting old, Johnny, because I'm like, you goddamn kids need to stay the fuck inside. There's a virus out here. Y'all gonna
So,
end up fucking sick, motherfuckers. And you know, when
were
I was
you,
their age, I would have been on that beach.
where you're living now? Is there any kids in the area? Like, are you able to see what happens? And when you drive around, what do you see out there?
It's pretty bare. I was just pointing it out. I was like, it's pretty bare out there. Um, we were just at one of the bigger shopping districts in the state, and it was empty as fuck. The only thing that you can do is go to a Walmart, go to a necessity. Now for us where we are, necessities include the liquor store, the dispensary, the doctor, anything automotive as far as maintenance, um, and then food supply chain. And I think the vet, you can bring your doctor to the vet. That's it. That's all you can do. Now, I haven't seen this happen, but I'm told that even in some of these towns around me, that certain time to a certain time you need some kind of note. But I haven't seen that. And you know how the internet is. I just see people saying it.
So I didn't tell you last night. I went to the beach and around like getting close to 8 o'clock, which I think they close everything down at 8. And at the very end of my walk, I ended up using the public restroom, and bro, I got locked in.
Wow.
And there's no like latch on the inside, and the only way to do it is on the outside with a key. And so like I remember going in, I saw the police there, and they're like scoping it out. I'm like, man, you just see if I could get in and get out. I went in, there were still people in there. I was the last one leaving, and when the last guy went out, I'm still kind of like, shaking it, and I hear this, and I'm like, bro, they didn't just lock me in, did they? I get to the door and I push it, and it doesn't move. And man, I'm thinking like, man, I hope that guy is still there because there's no way Talia's getting me out of here. So I'm like knock, knock, knocking, and luckily the guy was there. But man, that would have been a long night, man.
Damn.
Stuck in
Damn,
a
yeah.
public bathroom.
Hey, it's a crazy world. Um, it's a crazy motherfucking world right now, and there's a lot of crazy changes and rules, and you see changes and rules that you didn't even know were happening. They just happen, and you're expected to know. It's kind of like being in a big jail. You just get there and you just learn the rules. There's no rule book to tell you. So, yeah, it's a tough situation. It's a tough situation for the people all across the globe, for Beyond the Harmony, as you saw tonight, and for Bone themselves. I know I sent you a few links. Um, I I
I, s-
I
I
imagine
saw
you
that.
saw that it's
Yeah,
it's it's having its
we're,
effect on everybody.
yeah, and it looked like they had some canceled, but it looked like they actually did a show in Bloomingdale or something, someplace Blooming something. They actually did a show.
So that
Did,
was earlier this month, a little earlier this month. So about, think it was on like the 12th they announced that they were still doing a show. So it was still, obviously in the last couple weeks it's just like got crazy. But shows were still getting canceled at the beginning of the month, and it looked like Bone was still doing some. But I imagine now, nothing's happening. I've seen so many tours canceled. There was a tour that my company was involved with that got rerouted. Everything is really getting shut down. Lazy Bone was on TMZ, and he was really talking about the way that it was having an effect on on Bone. Because it takes them off the road, and what do we know about Bone? That's where substantial money made is on the road for these guys. So it's having its real big effect on everybody.
I wonder if they're going to utilize the time wisely. I just think artists in general, imagine they actually have to take a moment. Most artists are so busy, always on the go, always have something booked, always have a show, always have a photo shoot. Now I guess you could still do a photo shoot, but you can't go in large areas. So hopefully Bone Mine is Busy takes this opportunity to do a lot of recordings that can be released to the masses. I hope so. Have you heard any rumors of any?
That's what I was going to ask. That's what I was going to ask. What you thought? Like, doesn't this seem like the ideal time to be working on new music? It seems like this seems like the time where couples are making babies and rappers are making brand new albums.
If couples are making babies, where there's no guarantee that there's a future world out there, man. I mean, but
I'm just telling you, there's a lot of just locked up in your house, and I think these are the things that come from it. More than likely, that means, I guess that would probably mean solo music, right? Because even Bone's not supposed to be like technically together.
Yeah, the TV set was on yesterday. I don't normally do the TV, but I did see. It's gonna sound funny, but I'm passing through the house. First, I saw Alicia Keys, and then the Backstreet Boys were like doing they like were performing a song live together in 5 different locations. I didn't hear it. I was just passing through, and I wonder how that sounded because it looked like they were doing it live on the show, kind of like we're doing Beyond the Harmony live through YouTube. They were doing it through professional equipment with a major TV station, 5 different artists, 5 different locations, all performing. So that's kind of neat.
I've seen some cool live streams. I will say from an entertainment perspective, I think Snoop Dogg did a concert. I've seen the Dropkick Murphys did a concert. So people are doing concerts. It looks like different events are being put together. It's really having its effect on entertainment. I mean, it's doing numbers on people like Bone who can't tour. I don't know if you saw, but both Slim Thug and Scarface are both confirmed cases of COVID-19.
I saw somebody post something about Scarface, and I think he already had some health issues, right? So
I said that to somebody else. I was like, man, I seem to remember Scarface has a pre-existing health issue.
Yeah. I mean, he must because he lost a lot of weight too.
But I don't remember. But I hopefully everything is good for Scarface because that's a legend in the game. And you see that this is having its effect all the way around. I saw that Bizzy said that, and I don't know what to make of this because you remember Bizzy was posting something about 2024 anyway.
Right.
He posted a picture and it was like 2024, the revolution or something like that. And I saw more recently that he posted this great big like pink picture and it just said coronavirus announcement. Bizzy Bone will not be touring with Bone Thugs and Harmony until 2024. And I didn't understand. I was like, is this the revolution thing? Is this he's not touring with them because of the coronavirus? Is he just calling it coronavirus because it's happening during Corona? I'm so confused.
I think he posted that so that he doesn't get asked the same question 50 times a day from here on out. I think he's like, hey, I'm booked till 2024. Don't even start this Corona stuff. Even I'm not doing an album until 2024. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. That's how I took it.
Man, that's a long. I mean, 2020. That's like you're a freshman. If you're a freshman, right now, you'll be a senior when this Bone album comes out.
Yeah, it's a whole entire presidential term. That's That's a long time, man. You go from middle school to high school to college, college to being a graduate in the time that Bone's talking about a whole album. And speaking, they even haven't really released one since 2017, right? I mean, other than the solo albums, is New Waves the last Bone album, or did they come out
Wow.
with some fake mixtape between now and then?
I don't. No.
Yeah.
No. Nothing from like them. I don't think.
So, well,
So
hey, another thing that's going on besides artists being at home, it's also giving Bone Thugs and Harmony fans the opportunity to do even more collect hunting on the internet to find special deals, special products, hard to find, things you thought would find. So, Cecil, I heard that you heard about an amazing new piece of artifact that we didn't even fathom existing out there for purchase.
yeah. So I'm actually hoping that he's gonna call in. And in fact, I should. I'll send him the link and let him know. But I recently had a fan reach out. He goes by King Rob, and he had reached out and said, "Hey, I'm trying to validate these swords." And he had sent me a picture of the sword that Wishbone is holding in the Art of War artwork, and then the one that he believes to be Lazy Bones. Now, an interesting thing, I said, hey, let me try to help you kind of confirm these to be authentic. So an interesting thing that I pointed out the gate to him was the the Lazy Bone sword that you see inside the jacket. So when you open the Art of War up and it's that big spread of all the different weapons and stuff, that's a different sword than the one you see him holding in the booklet. And there's another unedited photo from that photo shoot of him, and you can see that it's a very different sword. But during my time trying to help him validate if this Lazy Bone sword and this Wishbone sword are the real thing, it brought me to the If I Could Teach the World video. And if you watch the If I Can Teach the World video, oddly enough, the sword that Lazy Bone from the middle jacket, not the one he's holding in the book, but the sword that's his number one assassin in the middle jacket, Wishbone is holding that exact sword in If I Could Teach the World. And Wishbone, or excuse me, Lazy Bone's holding the big Wishbone sword. When King Rob initially had asked me, I said, hey, look, I specifically remember the sword that Wishbone has being a reproduction of some kind. I can remember from being a kid and that exact sword being sold on, I don't think it was QVC, but it was something like QVC, some kind of 3 a.m., sales thing.
Yeah.
But an important thing came up, and when I was watching If I Could Teach the World, I said, hey, look, this fucking sword that Lazy Bone is holding is almost as big as him. Like,
Yeah.
this fucking thing comes up to his neck. Okay, now I remember these swords that were sold, and they were not that big. They were the average size sword. And I said, look, man, this is a big-ass fucking sword. And he goes, the guy's got to send it to me freight.
Damn.
Freight. And he goes, this is big. He says that it's about 80 pounds and it takes 2 hands to hold. And I was like, oh shit. It changed the whole way I was feeling about it. I was like, oh shit. So I'm like, what's the backstory here? And he's like, look, the guy who made the artwork sold it to him back in the day. He didn't want to sell the Bizzy Bone one and didn't want to sell the Crazy Bone one because those were his favorite members, but he sold these two. And I said, oh shit. So, of course, when King Rob hit me, I said, look, Donald Cunningham and Julio Costanza are the ones that made this artwork. And if you remember in the Julio interview, he really attributed a lot of the Art of War to Donald himself.
Right.
And I was just like, look, Donald also helped direct If I Could Teach the World. He may have been no, I don't think he was the sole director, but I can't remember. He's involved with the direction, though, of If I Could Teach the World.
Mm.
And I was like, dude, if anybody's going to know, it's going to be Donald. Okay?
Mm.
So I connected Donald and I connected King Rob, and I'm hoping that Donald, I'm like, my fingers are crossed that he says to the guy, yeah, I remember selling those swords. because could you imagine the collecting is so cool, as a Bone fan. Like, we collect some weird stuff that I've said it time and time again. I don't think every, rap act has people that collect the passionate, just odd things that are collected in Bone. Because it's not just the albums. Well, it is, like, it's a lot of different stuff too. And could you imagine having the fucking swords from the Art of War hanging on your wall? And not just a reproduction. We're saying, like, the ones in the If I Could Teach the Fucking World video. Could you imagine, as a Bone fan, those hanging on your wall? Like, there's, like, bottom shelf, regular mid shelf, top tier collector's items, and then there's, like, the private reserve. And those have to be in the private reserve.
Yeah, I don't know what would be more. I think those swords are probably, wow, definitely top five. I think maybe that crystal ball that in the first of the month video that they were looking at easy in. Well, I don't know. What would you say the
Well, the
most
thing
cherished?
is, it's like, we know that crystal ball was a thing, but who knows if it exists? It's just like these swords. It's like, you knew the swords were a thing, but
Right.
to own them is a different thought. Like, no one's thinking that somebody's out there with the crystal fucking ball from, first of the month. I'm thinking that it got, you know, reused in other videos and shit, like it's a prop that's used. It's like, these swords, you don't think about it. You're like, these fucking swords are out there floating around somewhere. And you
Yeah.
assume that a Donald Cunningham has them. But what if he doesn't? What if a Bone fan's about to have them and they're one of a kind? Like, what if a Bone fan's about to have those? It's like, you can be like, yeah, I got E1999, fucking clean version. I got the Thugs Cry single. I got a yellow 1993 Faces Death. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. This is the fucking 5'5" sword from If I Could Teach the World, Wishing Lazy Bone. Real thing. What you got? Like, that's just cool as fuck. So I'm hoping he calls in. I've been working real hard. That's kind of like, that's been my fun thing to do since we've been on quarantine, is I've been trying to help King Rob validate these fucking swords.
Well, as you were telling the story, I was envisioning like four different people, like the four hardest core Bone fans, and each of them have like one sword, but they have three spots reserved on their wall to get the other swords. And like, each year they all meet up and each guy tries to pressure the other guy to, hey man, when are you going to give me your sword? So,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I again, it's like, because I can distinctly remember, the Wishbone one being sold at one point. I was immediately like, look, bro, I've looked for this reproduction before. I know it's a reproduction, but again, it was the size. When I looked at the size in the video, and when I was like, look, man, like, that sword's got to be huge if it's the real one. He's like, he's got to send it freight. I was like, holy shit. Like,
wow.
now all of a sudden it's like, if this was a reproduction, it's like, it feels like we're going way out of the way to be producing 5.5 foot, 80-pound swords. Too many of them.
Right. Yeah.
Albert said it's hard to lift up a 5 foot sword. Absolutely. If you guys go look, I gotta see, bro. You know what? I'm gonna see if I can
Well,
put. I think I could put this on the screen real quick. I'm gonna put it on the screen for everybody,
yeah.
so you can see how big this bitch is.
Well, I know firsthand, my, the wife's father, he's got a medieval sword that an actual knight once owned, like a real knight.
Uh huh.
And the sword is like impossible to pick up, and you wonder, like even lifting it with two arms was just like, man, I could barely lift this with two arms. I can't imagine how strong the knights were to lift this thing, because it wasn't even made out of like, the metals that technology has invented over the years. Like metal has become lighter. This is from the medieval times, so they were just like taking iron and just raw steel and making swords out of it, and that's what this thing is. And so yeah, I can imagine. It kind of looks like that, like they're all bench pressing the sword on the album cover if you look at it.
Check this out, Johnny. I'm throwing it on the screen right now for everybody, to
I still
to to see. It'll be up. It's gonna probably be delayed. I'll I'll send it to you in a private message as well. But it's like when you see this, when you see the fucking size of this thing, they wouldn't make many of these, right? Like, I mean, why would they just be making a bunch of 5'5" swords? And that's the piece that got me excited. If it was a regular size thing, I'd be like, bro, they probably made a ton of these. It's probably not even a bone thing. It's probably something that was made for, weird conventions and shit. Julio and Donald were smart guys, so them finding some cool swords doesn't seem like a hard thing to do. And it seemed crazy to think that they made swords specifically for bone. But if you're looking at that picture, Lazy Bone has the Wishbone sword and vice versa. Look how big that fucking thing is.
Let me ask you this though: what would you rather have, those swords, or Crazy's bow and arrow set, or that axe I see there?
Well, so that's what's so interesting about it to me is that we know Flesh is in this video. They gave Flesh something. Flesh has got the axe. I think Crazy has actually a sword as well somewhere, if I remember in the video.
Yeah.
But he looks like he's got something different, and he's got the bow and arrow. Flesh is now in this. He's not in the Art of War artwork. He's got an axe, and then they flip flop Wish and Lazy. And I'll tell you this, I would probably want that axe. I don't know what it is, but I'm like, well, we know the fuck out of those swords, but that Flesh and Bone axe, the fifth axe.
Yeah. I want the bow and arrow set. That stuff looks pretty fly there. But that axe is pretty dope as well. That thing that Lazy's holding, that thing is gigantic.
That's the sword.
That does look pretty heavy. That does look like it needs freight. Looks like
that's huge. That's fucking. Look how big Lazy Bone is. That fucking thing's huge.
It's like the Ninja Turtle bow Donatello had. Look at that thing. Man.
That's big, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And what I can tell you is, if you take the Art of War, you open it up, you look in the middle. The sword that you see Wish holding is that sword that says #1 Assassin. The one you see Lazy Bone holding in the middle of the Art of War, that's the one that says Straight Jacket. So none of it, it's all very. I wish it would have been that specific. Meaning, like, I wish they still had the swords they were using in this video. It's so weird to me. I'm like, what the fuck made them give Lazy Bone the sword that's bigger than him?
Yeah, that Wish should have had that big one.
Yeah.
And then the thing that Wish is holding there, I think that's the one that Crazy held up at the beginning of the video when he first starts his verse. So
I think he's got his own. I think he's got the fucking Michelangelo or Leonardo sword case or something going on with that bow.
Yeah, well, hey, what you're looking at there in that picture right there, if we're getting the Bone album, that's the lineup we're getting.
Yeah, at least till 2024, right?
Uh-huh. And we did briefly discuss it, or probably lengthily discuss it on one of our lives, but I'm totally down to get a 4-man album of that 4 right there, just to get something, just to see what they could do as a quartet.
A. Wood Ward says that's a William Wallace broadsword.
William Wallace. Isn't his name I'm thinking of Wally.
I'm thinking isn't that the Pulp, isn't William Wallace the Pulp Fiction guy? Or is William Wallace like
Marcellus
Wallace.
Yeah. Now
William Wallace, I think, was like like a thing from history? Like a guy from history?
You might be thinking of George Wallace. But yeah. But hey, if Big Rob calls in, we'll revisit that and we'll get his perspective on it. But on this collecting tip,
yeah.
In addition to the sword story, which that's a pretty interesting story to know that the sword is out there.
We hope that's the way it looked. It at the beginning I was saying nah. At this point I'm saying there's a pretty good chance, and I'm gonna update everybody, as we go. Because man, if it's the real thing, I'm gonna have him do a bunch of video and stuff for me, so we can report heavy on it.
I saw Braveheart once, so Woodward says it's Braveheart. I can't believe we forgot it. That makes sense. Makes total sense.
Okay.
He freed Ireland. That's awesome. The now it sounds like you almost obtained the crown jewel, I suppose, for your collection, the one that you've been seeking out, the sought after Faces of Death original '93.
It, it
Yeah,
comes
anything?
down to you got to be willing to take a risk, John.
Uh,
It comes down to you got to be willing to take a risk. And what I mean is, if I would have just put my balls on the fucking table, if I would have just rolled the dice, if I would have just bet it all, I'd own it for $60. But you know me, I'm a dot the I, cross the T type of guy, and I had to make
oh,
sure it was the real thing. And by the time I made sure it was the real thing, somebody just trusted it was the real thing, and they bought it. $60, $10 shipping.
so
1993 Faces of Death original print. There's another
w-
one available right now, but it's $200, and I refuse to pay that.
have you attempted to offer a trade?
The
Part of
well, the I don't know who bought it. I just know who the seller was, and he's like, "Yeah, it's the real thing," and now it's gone.
So from your you probably have the largest Faces of Death collection that we know of, besides Kermit Henderson.
Well, who
And
knows now? Like we kind of broke the. It's funny somebody else did that video exposing all those Faces of Death, but once you put it out in the bone world and people saw that video, I saw an influx after that video online of the amount of copies you could buy of Faces of Death on eBay. Like it went from the random few here and there to just so many copies of Faces of Death, specifically the '95 editions, online.
we made
So
somebody in Cleveland rich.
so I don't know. I don't fucking know if I assume my collection's still the biggest just because who the fuck gets that many copies of it. We also know that I have a '95 yellow CD. I have a '95 red CD. I have these both sealed and not sealed. I have a signed by Bizzy Bone '95 yellow. I also have a '95 tape that's solid red. I got a '95 tape that is like a see-through red, and I got a '95 tape that's a black tape, and then I also got a record from '93, and then a bunch of you know, bunch of
And
double
shout out to
copies.
to Frank. Frank hooked up one of those, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. Frank hooked up the big in the tape in the tapes. Frank hooked up the black tape, which I've found is one of the more rare pressings of the tape. There's a lot of those red pressings out there, but that black tape is a little more rare of a pressing. And then the record is a real rare pressing. And the record, like I said, is a '93. Or that's what everybody says. That record came up out of nowhere. Like just one day there were these fucking Faces of Death records and they say '93 on them. But I'm very questionable if maybe it's a bootleg pressing, and Stony Burke is such a bootleggy kind of situation anyway that who's to validate. The story is, and I do know, I can't think of their names, but some hardcore like BT&H board guys that have been around for a while, they found them in Japan somehow, like Japan, and got them on the market.
Wow, that's well, speaking of Faces of Death, UB Murda did some Faces of Death remixes,
Yeah.
and that's pretty cool that he did that. So I just wanted to, those
He
UB Murda remixes are always kind of dope to listen to.
he's been doing it for so long. I want him to come on the show.
Yeah.
Because he's been doing it for so long, and the evolution of him as a remixer has really come a long way too. Like I remember he was doing a lot of blends way back in the day, and now it's turned into he just completely remakes it, beat everything, adds people in. He really has, like, I think, filled that void of that fantasy of I want to hear Bone in this person or I want to hear Bone in that person. Like he has made that happen, especially when it's like a situation like you're not going to hear again. But he most recently tackled Faces of Death. And that put a big smile on my face because we got this obsession with Faces of Death, so it was fun to hear a 25-year removed like Faces of Death update, a revisal.
Do you feel like Tio Choco is kind of like an extended Mo Thug, like a Bone Thug affiliate at this point? Like, do you check in on Tio Choco now just to see if Fleshbone appeared in any of his videos?
I usually see if he. I usually see it if he did. You know what I'm saying? So I don't follow him specifically. I'm not going out of my way because that shit's funny to me, but it's not because he's funny. I don't. He's not that funny to me. It's funny to me because fucking Fleshbone is just hilarious.
When you see him, but like, I don't know. The way I feel about it is like when I see, I'm like, man, Tio's part of the family to me at this point. So that's how I'm feeling. I'm happy with Tio Choke. I don't like all of the videos. Most of the videos I like. There's a few that I'm like, that's okay. But I'm happy Tio Choke was out there. I'm happy he did the collabos with Fleshbone, and I also enjoyed the Spanish Bone stuff that was out there.
He's
It
cool.
was nice to add it in.
He's
And you know
cool.
what's really grown on me? I despised it at the beginning, but now I'm like, wow, I didn't get it. Was Dr. Frankenstein with Fleshbone? When I first
Is
heard it,
that
I
the
was like,
one that's like all? Describe
what's
the video. Is he
yeah,
walking down a street or?
yeah, he basically did the exhibit. What you see is what you get now video, where it's all one take. So
Uh-huh.
like the camera never cuts. It's all one take through a neighborhood, and you see like these like 3D explosions happening in the background. I wonder if Aaron Purnell did some of the graphics on that. Speaking of that, did you get a
I
chance?
bet he's a flesh and bone guy.
Yeah, and did I send you the Thin C music video? I forget the name of it, but when I watched it, I was like going on I had a big a Thin C marathon one night. I was just like going bananas listening to everything Thin C. And I got to this one video, I forget the name of it, Haters. The song was called Haters. And there's like all these special effects and 3D graphics in it. And I'm looking at it saying, man, that looks so familiar. And I was like, it looks like Aaron Purnell must have done this video, but I was just kind of guessing. And sure enough, it wasn't listed to Aaron Purnell. It was the company that he has was listed as the
Yeah.
and,
You told me about it. I didn't see it, but like I mean it made sense to me, you know, him working with Thin C. Um
yeah,
it
it's I mean it's the effects are some of the effects are cool, some are pretty cheesy, some of it you're like, man, I can't believe it, but it's amusing to check it out. And all the Thin C videos, there's something like that just kind of he's got a lot of videos for Thin C. So just
yeah.
giving a shout out to Thin C. He's
And
like the
Aaron.
teacher of
Thin
Bone.
C and Aaron. Shout out to them both. I'd love to have Thin C on too. We should try to get him on
Yeah.
when we start it. He's got a cool story cuz you know he started out as far as Mo Thugs, and maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but he was in a group called Thick and Thin C.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They did two albums.
yeah, and Thick and Thin C. And I've always kind of wanted to, you know, I don't want to spend an hour on it or anything, but I've always kind of wanted to know a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
he seems interesting, and like I said, the videos he has, there's different kinds of things going on. He's got a good fashion sense, like an interesting fashion sense. He's always kind of rocking something different. So I just like I like unique different things and coming across, and a lot of the songs that he makes, they're not like straight hip hop. He'll have some rock in it. He'll have some like different variations, different genres of music. So it's
yeah,
it's kind of neat with the Thin Z thing, and it was cool to see Lazy trying to bring him up in again in 2010. They did like a couple singles together. So that's that. And speaking of new different things,
just real
this
quick, I just want to say, because we lost, you know, obviously during our shitty kickoff to this live tonight. We lost a bunch of people. Everybody is where we are hoping people call in tonight and talk to me and John. If you want to call in, you can do it right from the Skype. You can do it from your computer on Skype or right from your phone on Skype. It's just beyondtheharmony99@gmail.com. Add us, send me a message, and let me know that you want to call in, and I'll bring you into the conversation. Because we're down to talk to everybody. So feel free to Skype us if you want to jump on and Skype with John and I and talk a little Bone Thugs.
yeah, and if you want to get more people in the chat room, post the link to your favorite bone board, And some people will start showing up.
For
Anytime I see
sure.
a post, people start to show up.
Yeah, for sure. Anybody that's a member of like BTNH board on Facebook, the Bone Cult, anything like that, do us a solid and go share this. Let's get some people in here and rebound from that us having that fuck up at the beginning. We unfortunately lost so many people. Awood Ward said Ken Dog is coming. I saw a video where Lazy was saying. I think YTV did a recap actually saying with a live of Lazy and they were talking about a Ken Dog album. How do you feel about that in 2020?
Ken Dog, yeah, I'm definitely down for a Ken Dog album.
You still feel like that's like a project that people want in 2020?
I don't know if it's going to have a mass appeal, but I think Ken Dog would. He seemed pretty stylish and smooth, and like he had something cool to give, and I'd get the Ken Dog album. I don't know how big it would be. I mean, I think at this point he could rebrand himself and do his own thing. Be bigger than just a Mo Thug.
I think that it's very fortunate. It's a very fortunate thing, the world that Bone has created. Because he, meaning Ken Dog, he may not put a song out that goes mainstream huge, but this is a big fan base. If he's going to put a record out, fans are going to be real excited. He's part of that original crew. So yeah. I think that when that comes out, I think a lot of fans get it. Bone fans, like we've talked about previously today, big collectors. I think if they did a limited pressing, which Lazy Bone's doing real good at that through the website right now. Like, I think Lazy Bone to me right now is killing the game in terms of merch, listening to the fucking fans, putting out things the fans want, the necklaces. He's put out so many necklaces, all the new Bone Thugs and Mo Thugs shit, a lot of these CDs. So if this is a Lazy Gear release, it's probably a limited pressing. It'll be real cool. I think the streams do really good. I'm excited.
You know what it would be cool about the Ken Dog album as well as that he seems like he's kept the peace with everybody, and I bet you he'd have killer features all over that whole album, like people we forgot about, and like I feel like he could get everybody on that thing. Like who wouldn't want to be featured on the Ken Dog album?
Yeah.
So
well, it'd probably be full of Mo Thug,
yeah.
But like good, like in a good way.
Yep. Yeah, no, I'd check for it. And then speaking of the Lazy Gear, did they ship you those CDs yet? That it was like a single that I ordered, the Eternal E, or This Is for Easy E or something.
Oh, that's Ruthless Propaganda.
Okay.
And I have that. I'm gonna. It's funny, we got it like right before Corona, so I fucking haven't had time for really shit. But yeah, I'm gonna do a video unboxing. I just saw it, I opened it to make sure it was there, and then I haven't even like opened the plastic or done anything because I want my reaction to be good on the thing. But it is a single. It was limited to 50. It's called, I think, Eternal E maybe, and it's just Lazy Bone. What's weird about it to me is Ruthless Propaganda is putting out a project called Disciples of E.
Mm-hmm.
And this is on Disciples of E. But the album version, I guess, has Cold 187 on it. And this single that I bought doesn't. It's just the short Lazy Bone version.
Speaking of that...
I wish they would have waited, put out the...
Yeah. Yeah, well, a thing that's not talked about that often, except in the comments on the video, is... I forget the name of the song, but it's by Above the Law. Above the Law was with Ruthless Records, Cold 187. But Tupac is on the song, and so was Money B.
Uh-huh.
So, and Eazy-E is in the video. So there's a music video where Tupac and Eazy-E are in the same music video together. And it's, like I said, I think it's from the Black Mafia Life album by Above the Law. I don't know if do you ever see that video? I can't remember the name of it, but like, did you ever hear about it? Because like Bizzy Bone had pointed out, he's like, that Tupac kind of was with Ruthless Records for a minute there when he was doing that interview, and it was somewhere in Canada. It was like they were doing this interview in this really small town in Canada. The disc jockey was amazed that Bizzy and Flush would even come, and and Busy was mentioning that everybody went through Easy, everybody went through Ruthless at some point, and I had always kept that in the back of my mind. You see the picture of Easy, Tupac, and Tretch, and
Oh
but
yeah,
there's an
yeah, yeah.
actual but there's an actual music video, so you don't even have to go off a photograph. It's an Above the Law video. I think it's like I can't remember the name of it, but I think Albert knows. But yeah. So anyway, the video's out there. It's a pretty cool video to watch, and I think one of the two guys from Above the Law passed away as well. So there's that. And it wasn't obviously Cole 187. I'm still alive. Oh yeah, yeah. That's what I wanted to bring up. So Above the Law has some new compilation CD, and the album artwork of it looks just like BTNH Resurrection album. Did I send you a picture of that?
No.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, it looks like a straight rip off of Bone, but I mean, obviously, maybe they had the font first. So I'm looking this up right now. Above the Law.
Yeah, send me
It
that.
was, it was
You
like
know,
Kings or
I
something.
don't. I think you know this, but I've spent some time with Cold 187 and he's a cool dude.
Mhm.
He's a really cool guy.
Yeah, and it did. I keep forgetting about this. So the album is the best of Above the Law, and the album name is Kings of G Funk. And when you look at this cover, you're gonna crack up because it's basically BTNH Resurrection with their logo on, and basically use the same Bone font and just put Above the Law in it. You're gonna crack up. I'll copy and paste this to you. And if you can, it's so hilarious that you should put this in the chat too, or if you could put it up on screen. So
I
here it
think I
comes.
got I think Matthew Weaver. I think I got calling in.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
you did send me this. Yeah, yeah. After we talked to Matt, I'll put this up. This is pretty funny.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got a resurrection esque feel, and this is newer, right? Like this isn't like some old shit, or is this some old Above the Law shit?
I think it's new. I think it's new. I haven't seen the date on it. Looking right now, the date is there's no date. Wait, damn, it's got a lot of tracks on it. It came out in 2019, May 2019, 25 tracks,
Wow.
and I'm checking if it has Black Superman. I think that's probably the most famous. Actually, Black Superman's not on this.
When I saw, I'll tell you this. I saw this motherfucking Cold 187 on Big Hutch. I saw him live, and I didn't know how it was gonna be because I wasn't like a massive Cold 187 fan or big Above the Law or anything. But that guy crushed it like a veteran. I mean,
Yeah,
he controlled the stage. It was like seeing somebody that had done something flawlessly a million times just
yeah,
step up and do it again. It was really good.
yeah.
It
No,
made me a
when
fan.
and when I whenever I watched him in the music videos, I'm just like, man, this guy is like he's too much in a good way. Like he just he's got it like that. He's like Kumo D. He's got it. And he's so much that I'm like, man, I don't. It's so much. It's so much. So
I'm gonna.
so
I think
cool.
we got Matt Weaver. Let's try to bring him in. Let's see if this works.
Okay. Yo, Matt.
It says I'm calling him now. We'll see if he picks up.
Okay.
This shit's so funny. I actually got to call people like that. Mr. Weaver,
Yo, can you hear me?
Yo,
I believe we
yo,
can hear
yo.
you. I believe the world can hear you. What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm doing really good, man. I'm a generally a positive guy, and I don't live in fear. So I try to, you know, remind people that if they stay safe, they're probably going to be safe.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a funny time for people right now. It's a funny time, and we got a lot of people worried. It's touching people that I think in a way that we haven't seen people touched. But you know what though? I talk about this with people too. I said I'm seeing something interesting and it's not all negative. If you look on your Facebook, I see a lot of these groups being made and you see the family in a way that I haven't seen family in a long time. I see families doing things together and recording it and putting it online and it's helping
Yeah.
bring the family institution back. It's some positives out of this.
I agree. Well said.
So what's going on, Mr. Weaver calling us in? We had a crazy start to our Beyond the Harmony live, but we're off kicking with some bone now. What's on your mind?
This is the only podcast or really anything that I will sit through half an hour of needing to restart and be supportive of. So I was there the whole time.
Yeah, we don't
And
usually have
I
that.
went to look.
Yeah, we don't usually have that problem. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but I'm glad we have it now, and I'm glad we got great fans. Me and John talk about it. You know, it's like the Beyond the Harmony fan base is probably a very small sliver of the Bone fan base, but I'm okay with it because the ones that we have, we're really here for a specific thing, and it's not what every Bone fan wants. It's some real specific different stuff, but it's really good. I've had a lot of fun doing this, and it's listeners like yourself that have made it fun, that have continued to push us to do this really weird, intricate, of all stuff, Bone stuff.
Love it. I got to see them recently for both the Seattle and Portland dates.
Oh,
I was going to go to more because they came from Montana and headed west, but my vacation leave balance didn't agree with me. But it was really good. It was
How
a
was
lot
it?
more of the same.
Tell me what it's like. They still got a lot of openers. Walk me kind of through like the
Yeah.
show and what that was like.
Um, I I'm a slight authority on the subject. I think I've seen him well over 45 times
My man.
holy cow.
over the years. So I always take vacation when they're coming to town whenever possible and see him as many dates as I can around the Seattle area.
Yeah.
So the standard is one local, and sometimes that's really cool. Sometimes it's not, but it's always good they get a chance to shine. And then Mo Thug and The Life. Usually Kane. I really like Kane. He wasn't there this
I
time.
really like King.
Sloan. I love Sloan. I buy all his stuff. He was there, and he always knocks it out. And I really enjoy Position.
Yeah, Position's
Yeah.
done a great job too. Just like
Yeah.
yeah, I really like how Positions kind of played the part. That's been kind of an evolutionary change going from like a DJ Ice
Oh man,
to
DJ
I
Ice. Yeah.
yeah. That's a big change from Ice to Position, but man, he's done a wonderful
Good.
job. He really gets the crowd hype. I see a lot of his stuff between sets and before Bone comes out, and I think he's done a nice job kind of working the crowd and
Mhm.
getting them pumped, which is important.
He's good. Oh man, he really sets the stage, especially if the opener can't get it off the ground. But I always get there super early. I'm always in the front row. I'm pretty nerdy about it, and I always go by myself because I can't expect anyone else in the world to want to do that with me. And it was good. It was very. It's always very structured. It's always very the same. Wish runs the show. Seattle was Wish's birthday though.
Wow.
And so they were all super tipsy.
Yeah.
And then Position and Wish always have the very masculine back and forth of time is it? Are you ready? I didn't think they heard you kind of crowd movement stuff. And so out of nowhere, it was the funniest Bone moment I've ever seen. And Position kind of got a high voice and said, "Hey, birthday boy. Hey, birthday boy." And Wish totally lost his cool and started cracking up laughing. And that was one of my all-time favorite Bone moments for sure. To see
Yeah.
Wish not
Especially
act all tough on stage.
you seeing them as many times as you have, and kind of knowing the what's going to happen or having a good idea of what's going to happen. It's always nice to see something out of the normal. Let you know these guys are human and it's not all just the same over and over. It was interesting to hear you bring up, and John and I talk about this often. Wish, who, undeniably, I think gets this is the guy that raps the least. This is I think that when people are picking their favorite members, he comes in last a lot. He doesn't have a solo. He's not on the high end of he's the best rapper in the group, but we've always said these shows don't exist this way without this guy. For whatever reason, he is the loudest, crowd controlling, like it doesn't seem like that's who he is until he's on stage, and then he's a totally different guy. It's amazing. It's amazing to see the way he controls the crowd.
Oh, that's definitely his job, and he gets an A+ every night.
Yeah.
For
Imagine
sure.
what it would be like without him. You've seen so many shows now. Wish isn't there. What's that show without Wish? Because this is the credit I think the guy doesn't get that he deserves.
It wouldn't be the same. Lazy will constantly do eye contact, and he'll always come over and say what's up to me, but he's not he's there to have a good time. You know what I mean? And he is having a good time. So he's the only other person that has strong interaction abilities that they showcase anyways. You know, the other members are not making eye contact or anywhere near the front of the stage. So it would not be it's a big part of it.
Seeing them as many times as you have you seen the variance as far as, like, I mean, I'm sure you've seen the 5 of them, the 4 of them, even maybe the 3 of them. I saw them during that Resurrection tour with the band. Did you get a chance to see the Resurrection lineup? It was just 3 of them, Bizzy, Lazy, and Wish, I think, Flesh. It was Bizzy, Lazy, and Flesh, and it was a band.
Yes.
Pretty interesting.
That was great. I didn't know what to expect at the time, and I wasn't really online very much, and I was really out of the loop. But I think I saw them 3 times on that tour. And was that right when Flesh got out?
It was not. Yeah, it was. It was during that time frame that you remember that I think Wish and Crazy did the Australia thing, and they like left the group temporarily for like 30 seconds. And it was during that time. And I went to that show going, what is this going to be like without fucking Crazy Bone? And you know, Wish wasn't there doing the big Wish, but they had that band, and Bizzy was. It was something. I watched Bizzy probably drink 10 Red Bulls, and that guy just touched every part of the stage. But the band, that was a different look. That was a different feel. That was really cool.
It was good. It was very good. It was that was a really good. I thought a really good time, because where else would you be able to experience that? That'll maybe never happen again, you know. So
yeah.
But I would say one of, if not the best nights of my life was the East 1999 tour with all 5. And no offense if anyone is online from there, but in this little place in the middle of Washington called Yakima. And
those are the best shows.
It was my jaw was on the floor, and I wish I could remember what song, and I feel really bad that I can't. I should know this, but it might have been Down 71. But after Crazy went, they were all just watching him, and paying attention and focused on what he was doing. It was otherworldly for sure. It was just magic. And that's in the middle of nowhere. It's hilarious. I went to Seattle the next night, and it was really good, but it was seated, and it wasn't as good.
Yeah,
those little venues. It's so funny because the feeling you get in an arena is obviously different than you get in a little couple 100-person venue, but that intimate level that you get, there's a trade-off there too. And the way that you're going to feel seeing a huge act in front of 200 people, you know, it's like you feel more connected with them. It's the rush isn't the same when you walk into that arena and you hit that clearing and you see all the seats, you're like, wow. And that part isn't the same, but man, I've seen some great acts in venues of just a couple hundred people, and there's nothing like it, because it's real easy for them to connect with a couple hundred people compared to, 600 to thousands.
It's more of a performance than it is a spectacle.
Yeah. What was the Eternal show like? Did they just do songs from Eternal? Did they do the album front to back, or
100%? They even did the intro.
Wow. That's so cool.
It was. They didn't do Graveyard Shift. Shots to the Double Glock.
They didn't do it at all.
No, it just ended with. Well, I'll take that back. You know how they don't do Mo Murda because they think it incites, like, that's not the message they're trying to send anymore, and it probably gets people wound up.
Yeah, I think
so.
They generally.
Did they do Mr. Ouija too?
Pretty sure they did. Yeah. This
Wow.
you got to remember. This was years ago, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I had the track list with me. I was paying attention, and I'm pretty sure they did. I was also kind of beside myself, wishing I would have gone to more dates. But so what they didn't do Momurda in Yakima. It was a little bit more rough. You know what I mean? But in Seattle they did.
Wow.
Well,
That's
over
fucking cool.
over the 45 years, I'm not sorry, 45 different concerts you've been through throughout the span of time, have you noticed any difference between the first show you ever went to the last one you've seen? Like, what's evolved as we've gone on?
Yeah, now it's incredibly structured because there's no new material.
Although the last one I was at, they did a few new ones, and I saw the crowd react like the best to the new songs. Which for most bands, it's not that way. People want the classics, but I think Bone fans have been to so many concerts they want to hear something new. So like when they did
Yeah.
they have you ever been to one where they like tried out a new song, and how was the crowd experiencing it?
Well, at this one, they brought out Mo Thug Family Tree because all the right members were there,
Oh
Mm.
wow.
and I've never seen them do that live.
Yeah.
But they pick songs to add to the tour that they have the right members for, right? And as soon as it came, also you got to remember, I'm in the front row. I don't ever look back.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
But as soon as come on, come on, come on, I did that, and Lazy saw me, and he came right up and he smiled really big, like a real smile, not a Hollywood smile.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But I would say, John, my favorite for that question would be the tour we were already talking about with the alternate trio,
Mm-hmm.
because the stuff they picked for that, especially just seeing Bizzy, because Bizzy knows. I think when Bizzy starts going, he knows everybody's words once it's actually going. So that was a lot of fun. But every tour, they used to do Body Rot past couple tours. That was really cool to see.
Yeah.
Was Busy doing his part? Did he do it like he did it on that Art of War, the Bone Collection VHS tape? Or was Busy at that show when they did Body Rot?
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't.
Yeah. No.
Or-
Busy
unfortunately.
hasn't been there for a while.
But now it's so structured with they pay respects to the East Coast and the West Coast, and they do For the Love of Money, and then they do Notorious Thugs, and then they do Thug Love.
Thug Love. Yeah. Yeah. I saw
know,
videos of that.
That's like a half the show. You know what I mean? And so that gets. I wish they would retire that and just do. But that's what people know. And those are the songs everyone's singing along with.
Yeah.
So what bone stuff you got in the car today?
Man, I listened to a lot of World War III.
Oh wow, okay.
Still,
Ah.
I mean,
Yes.
I know you guys have different opinions on that album based on what I hear you say, but that and
I'm a World War III guy. I'm not a Unified guy. I shit on Unified all the time. I'm a big World War III guy. I just know the backstory behind it, so I defend it a lot because I know that it was originally supposed to be a more complete project, and we're really lucky that it even ended up out. It wasn't even gonna see the light of day at one point, and then finally they, put it together. So I love those songs. I think that is Busy on the comeback, and those are wasted in the way that they kind of got wasted, because I think that was Busy swinging 100 out of 100.
That's my favorite Bizzy Bone. I know there's not a second place for me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and for that to be, I call that recent in what we talk about.
Of all the bone questions of the day that you've heard us do, was there anyone that sticks in your mind that you want to drop your take on to set a record straight that me and Cecil may have gotten incorrect, or provide an insight that's like, man, or that you agreed or whatever? Like, just off the top of your head, if you think of any of them, because you brought
I know
up,
I've listened to them. So you go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was saying because you brought up, that you do know our takes on World War III, and I was just curious to know if you had any other takes on some of the things you've heard us say that are, that may have sat with you or not sat with you, or Just want to correct any of our.
I watched them all, but my memory is probably my weakest link in life. Why don't you guys name your biggest contention point, and I'll set the record straight.
I think you got it. I mean, that World War III one was a good one to bring up. We have Cecil loves that album. When the snippets came out, he was going crazy for it, and I feel like the final product didn't deliver with the snippets. The experience of the snippets even had me going nuts. Well, but then when I got the final thing, I was kind of let down.
The problem is that also happened during the Wish crazy departure Australia weird fucking thing, and that album kind of got dumped. And if you remember when those snippets came out, they were just busy, and it ended up Flesh just kind of jumped on pretty much everything, and then Lazy Bone jumped on a little bit of shit. And there was even a time people were saying this isn't a real album, it's not a real album. Crazy Bone got on his Twitter and confirmed this is an album, we're in support of it. And of course the only time we see Crazy or Wish on it are unreleased cuts. So the problem is the project was set to be a real Bone Thugs, all 5 of them, working with DJ Unique. The groundwork got laid, Unique and fucking Bizzy, and it is top tier Bizzy Bone. And then it is a monumental ball drop, I think, by the group or whoever caused it to be as unfinished it is. Because I agree, it is super unfinished. There's points of it that, you know, Flesh, I mean, I either love Flesh or I hate his fucking verses so much, like, depending on what he's going on. And he didn't deliver for me on World War III the way I usually want to hear Flesh deliver. But Bizzy, he makes up for it all. I could have really just heard a Bizzy Bone solo over all that shit. Walk This Way, I mean, we had that pre-release for a while, but it was great to finally get a full release of that. I defend the shit out of that album. I think that one's great. Unified is a big loss to me. The little Unified prequel that's out with all the other cuts, if a lot of those would have made it on the actual album, who knows? Who knows what that project could have been?
Or just a double CD and just put it all on there. What's stopping them from, what was stopping them? But as far as World War III goes, John, to your point about, it not being what you wanted it to be, that you have to set that argument aside because that's going to come up with every single project that we discuss as a group. That business is by far their weakest link. I mean, I'll argue all day on that. And so every album is going to have a different business point that was dropped or blown. So yes, if the production or the advertising that we saw in Unified was on, if they were wearing tuxedos on World War III instead of that awesome cover art, or they had Meet Me in the Sky video money, it would be night and day. But we don't have that, and we may not, maybe in 2024. I don't know. We'll see. But so I take everything for what it is, and I'm always just wishing that somebody who was a lot smarter than me would offer to manage their business and they'd want to accept it. So I just take it for what was put out, and for what was put out, I haven't heard a Bizzy Bone verse like that, and I don't know. I mean, I liked his recent album, but I liked World War III a lot more.
Do you think if Bone was to, because you said, hey, who knows if we get that kind of money, and it's like the big money times that we can think of is obviously with Ruthless during Eternal, and that, the years preceding for a little bit. Once again, during the I Tried Swiss Beats, that was a big money opportunity time for them. Unified was actually a big money opportunity time. There was a lot of interest during that time. If it comes around again, a label once again wants to roll the dice, the machine as it's referred to, which we see is less and less common, especially with 90s stars, the machine decides to once again get behind Bone. Do they have a single that is commercially acceptable? We know that we're going to love it as Bone fans, but is it going to have the I Tried effect and bring in new fans in 2024? 2024, are we bringing in new I Tried level fans?
Yeah, that's a good question. If whatever the 2024 Mariah Carey is, yes, because women love Bone Thugs. Yeah. Up and down all day, every day. Out of all the rap shows I go to, it has by far the highest ratio of there's more girls at Bone Thugs than any other hip hop show I've ever been to. So, yes, only if it's linked to someone who is already viral, and someone like Swiss Beats puts them together in the same room, but doesn't and makes it jive like it's supposed to.
Were you a fan? Oh, go ahead, John.
I was just gonna say, if it happened in now in 2020, what would be the master team behind Bone to make it happen? Like if you could pick, I don't even know
who is the
be.
Swiss Beats this year, you mean?
Who's the Swiss Beats? Who's the Mariah Carey? Who's the Akon? Who's the Steve LaBelle? Who's the whole team? Like how does that happen?
I think it's going to be a girl that doesn't sing hip hop. So
okay.
Not that girl that is 18 that won all the Grammys. You can tell I don't listen to popular music. But probably either a girl rapper or a girl that doesn't even sing hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know who would be putting them together. I honestly, I don't follow modern hip hop barely at all. I'd rather see what Jadakiss is putting on Instagram than go find a new rapper.
I see A. Wood Ward saying that I thought they signed a new contract within the last year or so, and it will be before 2024. I think what you're thinking about is they signed a deal right before Corona with Uncle Snoop's Army for show bookings, which I think is an incredible, thing for them to do, because it's going to put them on bigger and bigger. It's going to bring them back to those stadiums we were talking about, and I think even. I don't know if anybody confirmed this, but I saw a rumor that the Boneless Thugs and Harmony parody commercial took place in Snoop's studio. So I think that Snoop's probably setting them up, with some big opportunities in terms of shows and stuff. But I haven't seen anything about like a label or any kind of signing to that. To my knowledge, guys, Bone is still completely 100% independent right now. I think it's hard for them to decide to sign with a label. If they were going to do it, do you think it would be somebody that they fuck with like Snoop? I don't see them just signing their life away to another, Jewish-owned, no hip-hop background record label again. It would have to be something real like a Snoop, I think, to get those guys in.
Yeah, to let them have their control for sure.
Well, I think someone was behind that Boneless Thugs and Harmony, though.
I do too. I think Steve LaBelle had a lot to do with that. I think maybe Snoop had something to do with that. So there's definitely something going on there, but I don't think that's, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think that's a label. I don't think there's any kind of label connection right now.
And if you're not, I don't really keep up with present day hip hop either. What kind of like do you follow other kinds of music, or is it just Bone?
Yeah, I follow, like, if you can't tell, live music is my favorite thing. I grew up listening to hip hop and grew up in a very diverse, culture. So that's kind of where hip hop came from. But then in my early 20s, I discovered a band called AFI, A Fire Inside. And they were kind of like flashy punk back then, but that was just a phase. And they've been making serious music since the 90s. So and it's another group that's been around and constantly always putting stuff out. And then I'm also a huge fan of a singer named Morrissey.
Oh, yeah.
And he was the frontman for the Smiths in the 80s. So those three groups occupy most of my...
If any of them ever collaborated with Bone,
I was just gonna ask him the big collab question. What's the ultimate collab that may never happen that you'd like to see happen with Bone?
It would probably go back to hip hop, and I think if there was any way to get another really powerhouse group like MOP or Locks, I know that's not going to happen, but it's a fantasy, right? Or just get a whole bunch of old West Coast guys and then just have like a 10-minute song. Like do the points again, but with
the points,
people, with other people, I think that would be a ton of fun. When Crazy had his solo tour a few years ago, he had Spice One and I feel bad, I should remember.
MC8. I know MC8 and Spice One did stuff. I seen Spice One and Crazy Bone do an interview together. where I think
Yes.
Crazy was interviewing Spice One, and he was pointing out that Spice One had invented "Does Heaven Have a Ghetto?" I think on the song "Welcome to the Ghetto."
Crazy Bone knows a ton about hip hop, but he never really talks unless it's on Truth Talks, and then he goes off on his tangents.
Yeah, yeah, and I've been trying to locate. I don't know if you got an encyclopedic memory of the Crazy Bone, not the Truth Talks, but the Quick Fix. I'm looking for. There was an episode Crazy Bone did where he was talking about the how he's like a historian of hip hop, and he likes to find where words originate from. So he kind of like alluded to E40 coming up with his whole entire slang dictionary, and he was talking
Hmm.
about where other words came from. And it may have been that Spice One interview. I got to look that up
It
because
may have
I'm
been. I only listened to it once.
okay. Because I'm trying to find that because I want to use that for a video that I'm gonna make in the future, and I don't even remember what the heck the topic was, but it had to. Oh, I know what it is, and it had to do with the origins, where to show where some of the origins came from, and then blend it into a bone thing.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm glad you saw that. So maybe it was Spice One, maybe it was E40. If I said the name, would you remember who he was touring with? And did he do anything with Spice One live on stage when you were at it?
No, it was very segmented. Um,
How was Spice's show? Like, did he do a good job still at his age?
oh yeah, yeah, he was really good. He was sweating like a madman, and he was pouring it all out, and it was really good. I felt horrible because there was no one. There was a person behind me, but there was no third row. It was a tiny, tiny little venue. I felt really bad, but
Damn,
whatever.
damn, man.
Um,
I'd love to see Spice One, man. Man. And I'm not gonna go deep on this, but Spice One is I'm not gonna say he's in the top 100, but he's a really good rapper that most people don't pay homage to. That first album by him
yeah,
was a classic front to back, and besides Welcome to the Ghetto, the 187 Proof, the 187, the other one, like the storylines that he created, he's amazing. So hands down, the Spice One. I'm glad you brought him up. Love that guy.
he's a lot. He's a lot better than anyone ever remembers or gives him credit for sure, for
Yeah.
sure.
You had mentioned the points, and I know you both kind of said that you don't keep up on current hip hop, but I think it's funny thinking about the '90s and stuff like the points, and it's like you don't really see that now. You wouldn't see I see some collaborations, and you'll see a few big names, but I mean, we're talking a fucking 8 to 12 minute song with every big name that you can think of on it. You don't really see that now, which I think is too bad. Those were the type of things that were
Hmm.
always exciting in the
Wait,
'90s.
I seen one, and it's phenomenal. It's the guy that did the song Crazy Bone, Trey the Truth. He's made a trilogy. I
Yeah,
forget the name of the song, but he's
uh,
got like 30 guys on
yeah,
each
I know
song.
the songs you're talking about. But see, a lot of those guys are like, I think Ti's in it, and even though Ti's not from the '90s, I think of him as that middle. He's more of a '90s esque kind of guy than a new
Yeah.
guy. So it's like all the guys on those Trey the Truth songs are all like the final guys from like the final chapter in the early 2000s, I'd say. Like I don't see any of the new trap guys making big collabos like that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see it like that, and that's what made the '90s exciting.
Hmm. I don't. I think it's because they've never met each other because they only live on the internet.
Hmm. That's true. The scene was a lot different. A lot of these guys really knew each other between the award shows, and
Hmm.
radio was
Yeah.
important. There was a lot of radio crossover. Of course, the show
Yeah.
circuit. I mean, these guys really saw each other a lot. When you saw DMX and Jay Z together, you knew they really knew each other like that.
Yeah. I mean, well, they met in the basement.
Yeah.
They might be on. They might be passing each other, right? But I think, and that's a shame because in reality, they could do it way easier because they'd all just be on the internet together.
Yeah.
Back then,
And
they probably were in person.
the internet's made it weird. Bone has somehow found a way though to even do their thing on the internet. Busy's done the best with social media, I'd say, but I mean, hey, Lazy dominated fucking SoundCloud. How cool was that? Even I'm not like a huge fan of that Migos diss that he did, but how cool was it that Lazy Bone #1 song on SoundCloud, which is such a new school platform.
That made me smile. I don't like the song at all, but it sure made me smile. I think it was all for publicity, which I applaud. But
Yeah.
uh,
It sounded like, and now that it's all said and done with, I almost wonder if it was publicity because it seemed like they had some similar management. You know,
Yeah.
The Migos. I forget who the manager was, but there was a crossover link between Bone and Migos. So once I saw that, I thought, okay, I get it now. That's pretty clever.
You know, at the time I believed it though, because I don't remember if it was just a live that Lazy did or if he really posted it. I think it was just he was going live on Instagram and he was running on the treadmill while he was talking, and he genuinely seemed furious and offended,
Yeah.
and like he wasn't at the time he wasn't acting. So I don't know.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty real just because, I mean, I can say Lazy seemed he if I've learned anything from doing this show, it's that Lazy is a pretty genuine, real guy. This Bone Thugs thing, it's important to all five of them, but I always say it seems a little bit different for Lazy Bone. There's something just a little bit different for him,
Yeah.
and he really seemed really pissed, and it was like, I understood what he was saying. These guys, they don't get the acknowledgement. It's not even about Migos bowing down and saying, you guys are number one and not us. It's that these guys, Big Boy, the thing that made Busy mad, Big Boy not even bringing up Bone. It's like, come on. And I think that's
Yeah.
been a steady thing. I mean, if you think even during the '90s, was Bone getting the props that they should have got, or was Wu Tang getting all the props? I mean, I don't know if Bone's
Yep.
ever got what they really should be getting, given their force, 20 fucking almost 6-year force.
I agree. But
Do you get down with Tech Nine at all, Matt?
he's really cool, but he doesn't like stir my emotions or like my eyes pop out of my head like Bone Thugs. But I respect him a lot.
That's awesome. That's
I
awesome.
wanted that speed of sound. That speed of sound that was supposed to happen
Yeah,
with Bone and Tech Nine. I wanted that.
that would be a lot of fun, I think, for
Tech's,
sure.
Tech's verse sounded cool on it.
And speaking of the posse cuts, got to give it up to that Worldwide Choppers. That was a killer posse
Mm,
cut for the time period.
I wanted
And
loved
somebody
it,
from Bone
man.
on that. I wanted to hear Bone on that. I also wanted to hear Bone do more than just the chorus on that "Till I Die" Machine Gun Kelly remix.
mm,
When I heard that beat and Bone was on it, I was like, oh shit, Crazy Bone is about to fucking fuck this thing up. And then it was like French Montana and a bunch of weird shit. So
yeah.
that was weird.
Yeah,
Didn't
I
do what I
listened to
wanted.
it once.
Yeah, the beat was good.
What did you guys think of I don't think we've maybe talked about this once on the show over the years, but when the game did that celebration remix with Bone, I feel like I must have been so busy during that period of time moving that I missed out on the whole moment when it happened. Did you guys get to live in the moment when that happened?
Oh yeah, I got an interesting perspective on Celebration, which is Celebration was made. It was the game and like a bunch of weird shit like Lil Wayne and Tyga, I think, and some weird, just a weird lineup. And it looked as if the comments were just getting beat up on YouTube with people saying, "Yo, this is a Bone song. This is a fucking Bone song." And it's almost like the Bone fans made the Bone remix happen, in my opinion, because it didn't seem like there were any plans for that to happen. And it just seems like the Bone fans did what they do, and they just got on there and just fucking ate it up. And I think that it was kind of like, wow, I can't believe people are this passionate about this. But I will say, if there's one thing Bone fans have, it's the internet. We win all the votes. Anytime there's a who's the best rap group, Bone wins every fucking one of them, according to the internet.
Just because we
Bone's never
vote.
lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. There's no Mobb Deep fans out there to vote. There's, even Wu Tang, like, they don't have constructed forums where they're like, all right, all fucking 20,000 of us are going to vote on this one now. Like, it doesn't
No,
happen.
they would argue. Yeah.
So, the internet has made it a power tool for Bone. I think you said earlier, Matt, the organization. If the right organization was there, I think these guys have a bigger cash cow than they realize. If the merch, and we're starting to see it a little bit from Lazy
Yeah.
and even Crazy, but if the merch game was really organized better for Bone, they would have a cash cow just off the fans that they have.
Yes, I agree. Whoever runs the Instagram Bone Thugs and Harmony tour, that seems to be the most real and legit Instagram they have.
Yeah.
And I
Hmm.
don't know if it's it's their tour manager. I can't tell who's running it, but they do a good job. And and they actually advertise the merch and like show people wearing it and stuff. But they need to pay for some advertising for that because that's how people see things now is on their Facebook or
How'd you feel
feed or
about
their Instagram
the
feed, right?
Boneless Thugs piece? Speaking of like the, just that kind of plays into what you're talking, what they were trying to do. Like that's a big money promotion for them.
Oh, I'm a huge proponent. They did it live in Seattle, by the way. I forgot to tell you.
The Boneless Thugs
And
thing?
yes, it was hilarious. It was really good.
Tell me what they did.
It was almost word for word. I had watched it the night before, and it was mostly lazy. And Wish was livid with lazy, and he did his I'm a terrible fan. What's his tagline in it?
Oh,
Famous.
I ain't changing shit.
Yeah, yeah, he did it down pat 100%. And I don't know if anyone in the crowd except me knew what was going on, but I thought it was legendary. But I left a pretty long comment on whatever was that question of the day or whatever we did for that, and that is marketing today. That is advertising today. Like if you run a YouTube, you say things wrong on purpose. You cause controversy on purpose because all comments feed the algorithm.
Yeah.
And so whoever put that together, probably Steve, super smart like always. Definitely it has legs. I really hope they do a part two where they bring in another rapper, Snoop, and get some on lazy side, and then they have enough to have a war. But I thought it was genius, and that is a commercial today. That is advertising today. And if anyone, a lot of the comments said, I believed it or whatever. That means it worked. That's awesome. That's great that for that moment or time or day, you fell for it. That tells you everything you need to know that they caused controversy around their name. I don't, I don't think I've ever even been to Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah. Yeah, I think and this brings it all the way back to the coronavirus, but I think that kind of really deflated that quick on them. It seemed like the Boneless Thugs and Harmony push was real heavy. It was kind of starting to peak, and then Corona got real serious, and it just kind of snipped everything.
Yeah,
And it unplugged that. Now that was unfortunate too, because you and I are in total agreement. I'm like, hey, anything in 2020 for a group that debuted in '94, anything that gives them that level of relevance, where that many people were sharing, and that's all thumbs up stuff. So I do hope they do some sort of follow up. I'd like. Unfortunately, nobody wants to do anything right now. You see TV shut down, music shut down, shows are shut down.
yeah.
But I hope as soon as we come out of this, we see a some sort of follow up. Some sort of follow up would be really good. I saw a lot of people upset that I wish Bizzy would have been in it. Busy, 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 and that would have been cool if Bizzy was in it. But I was perfectly fine with him not. I thought the four of them did great without Bizzy.
That's always the hard sell. 10 people at every show say, where's Busy? Like,
Yeah.
well, I mean, so those are the casual people that do love and listen to Thug Love and whatnot, and then they are disappointed. But I think that is always having that ripple effect for sure because he was such a big part. But there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with having 4 out of 5 there. I hope they buy ad space for that when the world kind of gets its head on straight a little bit, and just redo it like it's new, like
Have
they didn't release it once.
Have you got used to the fact when you've seen Bone as many times live as you have? Have you got used to those songs where you're really expecting Busy to come in? Have you got used to that live, or is it always just kind of like Busy has to be here on Thug Love or Notorious Thugs or whatever? The Crossroads is so important on the Crossroads.
Yeah, Days of Our Lives always makes me shed a little tear when he's not there for that. But because I'm not sure if they should do it without him. That one, because it's not. What do you call it when they're all intermingled like that? Not a chorus, verse, chorus, or whatever. I don't know the right word, but
It's a
Yeah.
harmony.
Crossroads is okay because everyone's either got their phone in the air or their crosses in the air, and everyone does all the lines.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that one that's a good saving grace for that one. But yeah, when they do a song where his verse was your favorite, then that feels a certain kind of way. But it's just so it hurt me a lot when it was touch and go. Like this tour yes, that tour no.
Yeah. Yeah.
That I did get let down, and there were some shows that I drove really far for, and he wasn't there.
I rather know that he's, like right now I'm completely fine with he's not going to be there and that's a known thing. I don't like the
Yeah.
flip of the fucking coin, will he be there, will he won't be there. Sometimes some of the other guys aren't there, but that's an anomaly, that's a rare thing, something's going on. For Crazy to not be there, for Lazy to not be there, etc.
Yeah.
But it's always a coin flip. Will we see Bizzy tonight? So I kind of like that, and it's good that both sides have established, meaning the four of them and Bizzy Bone have both established he ain't gonna be here.
Totally. It's
But
way better.
what do you
It's
think
more
that
professional.
is though? What's going on for a 4-year span? That's such a gap to say I'm still in the group, but I'm not with the group. But in 4 years, I'm gonna be with the group, and wait till you see what happens. What do you think that is?
Well, first of all, he's a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
Second, I think he plans a lot of stuff, and I'm not sure if it always happens. Otherwise, we would see more material. I think that's a big part of it, is that he thinks he has these different sticks in the fire of albums he's working on or projects he's working on. What I'm afraid of might be the truth is that he's trying to work with other artists to get them promoted maybe under him, which how often does that really work out, right?
Like not this, but like a Seventh Sign type of artist like that, or like
Yeah.
Bloodline Harmony.
Yeah. What else are you doing for 4 years, right? So there's, um, I don't know. Well, he also might just be working on other business stuff that he doesn't tell anybody about, right? That's not music, right?
Right.
Which is what he should be doing to multiply his money.
I believe there's a Carbon Monoxide 2 being worked on. I know with talking with Blaze, he had indicated that there's some Carbon Monoxide tracks, because they recorded a lot more, obviously, than what we heard for Carbon Monoxide. So I do think that there's some kind of second Carbon Monoxide in the works. What's interesting to me is I remember that there was a window, and this is during the coin flip, will Bizzy be there, won't he be there era, where he was really pushing, look, I'm going to push Bloodline Harmony. I'm going to do this for my kids. And it kind of seemed like we weren't going to see him rap much, and almost see him not as a manager, but like it's all about Bloodline. And that kind of seemed like a thing for a hot minute. And then all of a sudden it was like nothing. Now I really don't see much about them. I don't see any real Bizzy Bloodline connection.
No.
It's real odd, and it's too bad because I really like Bloodline Harmony. What did you think of that group and the five of them?
I like their songs a lot, and I will definitely buy any like legit album they put out to support. The only thing that could ever go wrong is if like they use Bone to put their name out further. You know what I mean? Like there has to be a very distinct line that they're not trying to come up on their name. But no, I think they're pretty talented, and sounding like Bone obviously is going to get my attention a lot faster than most other things in life. So I think they're okay.
It's interesting because I've heard some songs where they kind of sound like Bone. I've heard some songs where they sound like newer trap kind of music. If you notice, though, they haven't been presented to us in a Mo Thug-esque affiliate type way. For whatever
Yes.
reason. I
think that's good.
You feel the affiliation. You understand that it's, sons and nephews of Bizzy Bone, but you don't feel like they're Harmony House, their Seventh Sign, their anything like that. Like it feels like they are their own entity. And I noticed you said you feel like that's good. I was going to ask if you felt like that was good or if that was hurting them in terms of, Bone fans taking them on it. Some Bone fans almost seem anti Bloodline Harmony.
Well, I think they're afraid of them trying to get rich off their parents or, maybe grandparents money at this point, which is not cool. And so I think there's a lot of respect and strength there for not trying to attach themselves to a label. But that could be as simple as that it's more Bizzy Bone's thing. And does Seven Sign even exist anymore?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes and no.
So,
Not as far as Bizzy Bone. Like they kind of have their own, like, it's a different thing. We have current Seven Sign guys on now, and it's a yes and no thing. But it just in terms of, I think it's also good. I think that they haven't got lost under that cap of they're just signed with a bunch of affiliates like that.
yeah.
It looked like Lil Bizzy put out like some solo stuff. He put out like a little EP. I thought the EP was good. It really had like a lot of Bizzy Bone sound and shit on it. And it looked like he was kind of going to be like the breakout thing. And then I haven't seen much from him. But I hope we do. It's weird though because, it's like Bone fans are so worried about them not ripping off the Bone thing. But then you have, like Eazy-E's kids. They're all named after Eazy-E. That Lil Easy goes out and does Eazy-E songs. They dress like Eazy-E. I mean, it's like, Ice Cube's kids, I think, are kind of the same way. It's like you'd almost think that the parents would want that, and the kids would be like, "Nah, I don't have to do that."
Well, actually, I think I'll disagree. Eazy-E's okay because he's passed. Ice Cube is a kid movie actor nowadays, so I don't think that applies.
What about Lazy Bone's kid? Did Lazy's kid ever drop? Remember the one that was on the
Jeremy?
Mo 3?
He grew up and did some more stuff, but he's not like trying to be like a super active rapper. He did some other stuff, not as like J Bone or whatever ridiculous fucking AK-47 wielding shit they had him do on Mo Thug 3. But he didn't try to continue to keep it a serious thing. But I do see him interact with all the Bloodline Harmony guys and shit online. Like, he seems very active within the family.
Good.
What about that? Was that Thug Queen that did a song with somebody from Bloodline Harmony?
Yeah, she did a couple of them. A couple new Thug Queen songs.
That's amazing.
I gotta go find that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's got like
nice.
She's got like 2 newer songs. This is something, and I'm going to pose this out to everybody in the chat. This is something that I've put out there a bunch of times, and everyone says yes, and it's always my way to pulse check. But I've really thought about putting together a crowdfunding for Beyond the Harmony to put together some sort of affiliate project. A lot of the fans know, outside of Beyond the Harmony, I work for a record label, I work for a tour management, I work a lot in music, and I've really said to John a lot, hey, if the budget was there, I can organize this thing. I can, instead of waiting for someone to mysteriously put together this Mo Thug reunion, all these guys really want to do is get a little check and record their verse. And I'm like, man, if the people crowdfunded it, I think we could do it. Do you think that's a project, as much as people say they want to hear the Mo Thug reunion, if it's done right, do you think that's a project people want to hear is, I loved that idea right there, Thug Queen and a member of Bloodline. I think that's a great collaboration. Would somebody be interested in a CD of collaborations like that, and would they be interested if no member of Bone was on it? What do you think?
And remember, they're delayed by a little bit, so it's going to take I could even propose it. But yeah.
It's not a huge delay.
So yeah, that is something we've been talking about for a while now, and there's been a few opportunities I think that came up, and we definitely have the ultimate name for the album. Did you want to reveal the name? I mean, we might as well give it to the fans. Maybe that may entice them a little bit more.
Okay.
Or should that just
I don't even care because I don't think it gets stolen. I see that I've seen that the Mo Thugs have been going to be called the originals. I've seen all kinds of shit, right? I would call it, so that I didn't tread on any waters, I would call it Beyond the Harmony presents the Sinclair Thugs, and I would call the project Family Crisis, and I would just put a Roman numeral 5, somewhere in the disc, just to indicate what I'm shooting for. And the hope would be to buy verses from everybody possible, from the Soldier Boys all the way up. I would like to work with everybody. And I think that what makes it possible is, instead of saying, hey, Soldier Boy, we need you for 17 tracks, it's probably easy to buy 2 or 3 Soldier Boy verses. And if he doesn't have to do the work of working with everybody, and we put the project together, we could see a pretty interesting project. Is that something that Bone Thug fans are down to listen for? We always pose the question of what's even left. We're always talking about, we want this, we want that, but what is it really? Every time something comes out, Bone fans aren't happy. Like, are Bone fans going to be happy with anything?
Yeah, and if it's like outside of them making it East 99 Eternal Part 2,
which won't happen.
What is it? What is it that? And this is a question I've always wanted to propose. Was like, what are we waiting for from Bone? Like, what keeps us hanging on? Everybody always wants the next project, and then they keep dropping solos, and nobody's satisfied. So it's like, what is it? What is it that you want Bone to do? My thing was, I just wanted them to live up to their potential, because there's always something missing. Like, either Bizzy's not there, or this is happening wrong, or there's always something that goes wrong where they don't fully hit it. So somebody's asking, what's a ballpark cost for a Mo Thugs project, and that's what they need to know.
Who knows? I'd have to really sit down and think about it and do some price checking with, because this all comes down to, what does a guy like Soulja Boy want for a verse? What does he want for 3 verses? What does a guy, I got a lot of connections here, so it's like, as far as like Bone affiliates, so it's like, you'd want to get Soulja, you'd want to get some Too True on there, some of the Poetic Hustlers, if not all of them, if you can. Sin from the Graveyard Shift.
An overall budget, though, what do you think a Mo Thug budget looks like?
Like like a realistic one, or like what I think I'd be told. I think that Mo Thugs came up at a time where it was the machine and it was millions of dollars. So the unrealistic thing is, millions of dollars. What I think market value for these guys' verses are, and all the project management and everything like that, it's probably a $6,000 to $8,000 project, and that's me being 100% real. I love a guy like Soulja Boy. Okay, he's a tier 1 talent in my eyes, but in terms of what a verse is worth in 2020, and when I manage my guys, and verses, when they buy songs or when they buy verses from name artists to put on their songs, I'm always like, you got to think of what you're going to get out of this, right? If we spend $6,000 on a verse and you put this guy on your song, is it going to have a $6,000 return? And to make it worth anything, it needs $6,001 for it to even be worth anything. And nobody just wants to make a $1. So a $6,000 verse really has to return you like 10 grand. Are you going to get 10 grand out of booking this person on your song? You're probably not. So it's like, you got to look at it in terms of like stock, and the stock on a lot of Mo Thugs, especially ones that haven't put out music, that aren't necessarily active. These verses got to be worth a few $100, a piece, and that's just being real. And I think that's the holdup there, and that's been the holdup on a reunion for a long time, is the money that everybody got accustomed to in the 90s, 96, 97, 98. It's just not there. And not even just for them. Like, the industry is a different industry. It's built off streaming. It's built off of going viral. Are we going to see viral streams behind the Mo Thugs? Fucking probably not.
Yeah, well, so Mr. Unknown put out a $25K budget.
That would
realistic.
Be incredible. You could get Bone on it for that. You could do all kinds of shit. I can tell you right now, a Bizzy Bone verse, you're looking at between $1,000, $3,000 to get Bizzy Bone on a fucking song. Lazy Bone is $3,000 to $5,000 for a verse. It's all in what they got going on and shit like that. And you got to use that as the marker too, right? I've got a Bizzy Bone verse, 2 of them, 2 different times for $1,000 a piece. Okay, that's real shit that your boy Cecil West can tell you I've done. So I can get a Bizzy Bone verse for $1,000. Now think of what a Tony Tone verse is worth. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, that we just got to use that as the realistic marker. That's not knocking Tony Tone. That's not knocking a Ken Dog. That's not knocking Too True. But I picked up a Bizzy Bone verse for $1,000. So Ken Dog.
So how much would it? I wonder, like, to buy all 5. You figure if it's like 10K, does a Bone Thugs and Harmony all 5 single return at least 10K?
Well, I think that they're going to want more than that because you can list it as Bone Thugs. So it's like you can buy each one of them a verse separately, and that makes it different than buying a Bone Thugs song, I think, because, you know, you bought a Bone Thugs song versus separate verses. Does it get 10K back? I don't know. So who's done it lately? Wiz Khalifa, ASAP Ferg. I can't think of anybody else that's really done it like that lately. The Game a while ago.
Jeremy Jones points out that, hey, don't forget you got to pay for production too. So what kind of producers are we getting?
Isn't that interesting? I have 3 in-house producers, and one of them knows how to lay down all that 96 shit. So that would be a different situation for me. Because obviously trying to get the Demizes and shit like that would be... and again, this is what's making it out of touch for this many years. This is what's making it undoable, is that the fans aren't going to be happy with a producer they don't know making Mo Thug-esque beats. In everybody's mind, for this to happen, you got to have insert super name producer that's going to want a ton of money. And I think that's why you're never seeing these projects come out.
Yeah. We still got Matt on the line, by the way.
We got Matt.
Yeah, you guys are off on it. So I was letting you
Matt,
go
you're
for
like,
it.
you're like our third host right now. You can jump in whenever you want.
You guys have a lot to say. I think that is a genius idea, and I think they'll all be down because I'm sure they all have day jobs now, right?
Most of them.
And nostalgia is like the biggest moneymaker in the world right now, right? All of these quote unquote Mob Deep is coming to Seattle. It's just Havoc. I love Havoc, but you know, so any reunion type of thing that any band can grab onto is it's the theme of the tour because people want that old stuff, is what we always say, right? So yeah.
Let me ask you this, because you've seen a lot of shows, Matt. From a show perspective, if they were to say, we are doing the Mo Thug reunion tour, which is something they've teased and you've seen little hints of it at certain shows, they've brought out a bunch. But if they said we're going to do the Mo Thug reunion tour, they're bringing back as many of or most of the cast from Mo Thugs 1 and 2, does that bring out more people to shows than normal, or is that a waste of money? Because that's where we're at in 2020. Is it going to make money or is it going to lose them money?
Right. I'm afraid that would lose money. I feel really bad saying that, but I think that's the world we live in. A lot of us aren't going to, the people that are going are there to see Notorious Thugs.
Yeah. That's real.
But maybe Ghetto Cowboy. They probably want to see Ghetto Cowboy, possibly.
Yeah.
They love Ghetto Cowboy. There's people yelling from the back, Ghetto Cowboy. They're not going to do at the Mo Thug show. They better close with Ghetto Cowboy, right?
Right.
But I think that they would do the album for us, and I think that you have enough connections and the Bone group is big enough that enough people would add on and put their money where their mouth is. Because what else are we really spending our money on? They're not doing a good job buying their albums. I know that for a fact. I have to buy more than one to help make up for all these other people. But I think some of them might do it out of nostalgia and respect and fun. And I don't care how it turns out. I'm going to be smiling ear to ear.
Yeah. I think I can get a lot of guys, involved. Like, I think that the thing that I'm proposing is I'm just trying to buy a few verses from each artist and put the work together myself, versus when you say to a guy like Soulja Boy, I want you involved with this whole project, you know, it's a different thing. When you say I only need you involved with 3 verses and you don't have to worry about shit else, I think that's easier to get these guys involved. The way it's always being proposed to them right now in every reunion that's been proposed is you're really signing up to be a part of this big this big thing. When we were talking about the live show, you know, No Limit Records just did a huge live No Limit reunion, and they were filling fucking stadiums, huge stadiums with Master P and the No Limit Soldiers, Mystical, Mia X, all these No Limit, you know, just all stars. Do you feel the difference there is that No Limit had a big cultural impact, or is that just Master P, people coming to see Master P and you know, because I don't think a Mo Thug reunion probably brings in I don't know. Who knows? It's not bringing in new fans, but old existing fans that may not have gone to a show. I don't know. That's a coin flip. I think if you're a Bone fucking fan, you were going to shows either way, whether Mo Thugs were there or not. You were. That's just a cherry on top kind of thing.
That one's unfortunately not comparable because Master P is the Bone equivalent, right? So he's the big name, and we're talking about just the affiliate project. So, I don't think it's apples to apples there.
It's tough.
Yeah, and if P wasn't at that show, it's not like Bizzy not being there for the rest of Bone. The Bone show could go on, but I don't know, a No Limit show without Master P would be kind of strange. I mean, just look at how those guys with Beats to the Pound, they tried to do their own thing, and it just never kind of got off the ground. I mean, maybe Fiend, maybe I'd go to a Fiend show, but, you know, if it was like Mia X and Silk the Shocker, I don't know. So
it was really cool, the No Limit ones. Even Snoop showed up at a couple of them, which was nice. Cool to see. Snoop with the No Limit Soldiers wearing his No Limit chain and stuff. I saw recently 3-6 Mafia was going to do a reunion. People are really excited about a 3-6 Mafia reunion, and I actually heard Bone was involved with some of those shows. And of course, again, the topic tonight is Corona. Corona's slowed up all these things. Is that the type of show? Would you be, or do you feel that that's an interesting show to see Bone on? Would be one of these big reunion shows? I just went and saw a show. It was the craziest show I've ever seen. It was in New York City. I won't even remember everybody was there, but DMX was there. Snoop was there. 50 Cent was there. MOP was there. Fucking T.I. was there. I'm not even nailing half the people there. There were probably 3 or 4 other huge names that were there. Is that the type of tour, the type of show that you think Bone should try to get on at this point, and that Snoop might be able to bring them to be part of?
Yeah, because everyone there is there for the exact same 90s feel. It's all people our age, you know. And I hate, you know, if you want to see my face turn red and my fist clench, say, oh, Bone still makes music?
Yeah.
So that would get them in front of all those people.
Yeah.
Because they just assume DMX doesn't make music anymore because he probably doesn't. They're not wrong. They still want to go see him, and they want to see him doing slipping and falling. I think I did see flyers for that, but I don't think there was any shows in the Northwest, and that's not something, you know what I mean? But that is the kind of thing they need, because they probably get paid way more for that, let alone the publicity, than for like a small just them tour.
Yeah.
Cecil, do you have any background on the DMX Rakim song that came out? Like, 1, did you ever hear it? And 2, do you know any stories behind it? Or, you know, how did that even happen? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't know anything about that.
So DMX and Rakim, they did a track together. It's called Don't Call Me. And it had like a rock feel to it. And it's kind of cringy. Rakim's verse is amazing, by the way. DMX's thing is awesome, but at the same time of the awesome, there's cringe to it. But I like the cringe. I'm into cringe, but I don't think other people were into cringe. I just wanted to see if you knew how that even came about, because it's kind of like that's kind of a strange combo, Rakim and DMX. But it turns out that Rakim was DMX's like favorite rapper, and he was so happy to meet him. But Anyway, if you guys don't know about it, there's a Rakim DMX song from a couple years ago. I
I don't
really like it.
I don't think I know about it, but I haven't. I've tried to be supportive of DMX post jail. And the guy just makes it hard. But hey, I just want
Yeah.
to tell you real quick. This is the full lineup for that show that I saw. You guys will not believe this fucking lineup. It was Snoop Dogg, 50 Cent, DMX, T.I., The Lox, Fabulous, Cameron from Dipset, M.O.P., Daz Effects, and Junior Reed, all at the Barclay Center.
I love Junior Reed.
That it that was you just like that is headliner with headliner after headliner after headliner hitting the stage, and then during 50 Cent set they brought Snoop Dogg back out. They did the PIMP remix together. What a crazy thing. And I think of like if you could get Bone and Fat Joe, and if you got a bunch of guys that like had that Bone crossover a little bit, JD, Mariah Carey, if you could get that as a big tour, I mean, what a cool tour that would be. That's the stuff the '90s were made of. But I think that's those type of shows, the one that I just described. Those are the type of shows that I think that pull the fan that's our age, that is kind of past going to, shows every weekend. You're pulling a rarity show now. I think those are the type of shows where people go, hey, we're going to get tickets and go to this. And those fill stadiums.
Oh yeah, yeah. They'll go because their girl will go with them to that to see Snoop.
Yeah. That's
So
fair.
the money's there for sure.
I saw JJ Fad perform Supersonic. I didn't see them in person. I saw that they did a show in 2016, and that was pretty bizarre. And just keep in mind too, in 2024, when Bone does this album, I think a few of them may be in their 50s at that point. Is that going to be the case?
Yeah. Plush,
These were all
Plush
old, man. So Bone's going to be in their 50s, and other than Bizzy. That's going to be pretty bizarre. But I don't know. Mariah Carey just turned 50 years old.
Well,
And I think LL's getting there too.
well, LL still looks 20. So
Yeah, he's doing good. Well, that's one of Bone's biggest strengths is how youthful they all appear physically and how they behave. They don't. I recently went to a show that was Big Daddy Kane headlining with Slick Rick and.
Slick Rick was there too, by the way. Fuck, you said Slick Rick.
I love Slick Rick.
Snoop
man.
Dogg brought Slick Rick out, motherfucker. All right, keep going. I just forgot that happened.
He's the coolest guy ever, I think. And then, anyway, it was a really good throwback show. And Big Daddy Kane is very well put together. But Slick Rick, I've seen him a couple times. He's getting up there for sure. But he was rapping his ass off. His medallion was weighing him down a little bit, but he knew what he was doing. And then, but they're getting up there for sure. I remember when Jizza turned 50 I don't know, it might have been 5 years ago now, and I remember my heart hurt a little bit, but that was just the first wave of many, right?
But we've all put that cap as fans on hip hop, is that you get a certain age and you're not allowed to do it. Nobody set that standard except for fans and other rappers, because it's the only genre like this. The Rolling Stones still do music. Some of these guys in rock and roll, they do it until they die. You look at a guy like Lemmy from Motorhead. He was doing music almost until he died. Big stadiums. Hip hop's the only one that we're capping out like this. I've seen Snoop Dogg a handful of times live now. I've seen DMX.
Does he do a big? Does his show, like, since is his show like better than all the other shows you see? Like, does he have a high stage production value?
Yeah, his shows are massive. You can tell that the guy's done thousands of shows. He's very captivating. He doesn't. He's Snoop Dogg through and through, so it's like he controls the crowd, but it's not because he's like overly talkative to the crowd. It's the same, Snoop Dogg bitch like shit through the whole show, and it just holds him, and it's just Snoop Dogg dancing like Snoop Dogg. The first time I saw him, he had like the whole DPG gang there. Daz and Corrupt were there. Corrupt was like the hype man the whole night. Very cool show to see. But like, It's also, and this goes back to what we were talking about with Matt at the beginning of the show. It's the difference between when you see someone in a stadium versus when you see somebody in a venue for a couple hundred people. Every time I see Snoop Dogg, we're in a stadium where it holds thousands of people, and the feeling when he hits the fucking stage is unbelievable. And that's how it was with that big Barclay Center with all those guys. I mean, some of those guys, Daz Effect, Cameron, they probably do some good sized shows, but I mean, the Barclay Center was sold the fuck out. And everybody in that environment kind of has a different vibe. DMX was doing Rough Riders Anthem, and he climbed up on top of the fucking speakers. And it was absolutely insane. It was absolutely insane. You know, he put on such a good show, but how can you not in front of that many people, you know? And that's what I kind of Bone when Matt had said, hey, it makes me mad when people are like, do they still make music? If you look at a lot of these shows, they do a lot of big shows. They're not doing just shows with 200 people. They do some big fucking shows. But I would love to see them, you know, something like Thuggish Ruggish Bone drops at the Barclay Center for that many people. I want to see the roof come off in that situation. I would like to see that one last run like that. And I will say in terms of if they can only focus on an album or they can only focus on the live run, this live run with Uncle Snoop's Army should be really good. It should see them in some really beautiful shows that give us that opportunity to see that roof come off like that.
The one thing I wanted to just to mention, I don't know if I said this on the show before, when we were talking about being in their 50s, the very first rap magazine I got, and this is before The Source, this is around the time Word Up was out, but there was a magazine called Rap Masters. And the topic of the magazine, so I'm like 8 years old, or I'm 9 years old, it's 1988. The topic was should we put an age limit on rap? And the mega stars at the time were Public Enemy, Big Daddy Kane, Rakim, and it's amazing because those guys are still performing now. but the sub headline, it had, "Can you imagine Flavor Flav at age 50 saying, 'Yeah, boy'?" And I remember thinking, like, when I'm reading it, I thought, man, I hope when I'm getting close to 50 that Flavor Flav and LL Cool J and Big Daddy Kane and Public Enemy and Chuck D are still performing. Like the idea of them falling off was like, it was such like a bad thought. I was like, that can't ever happen. These guys have to be with me my whole life. And the fact is now we've reached way past Flavor Flav being 50 saying, "Yeah, boy." I'm just happy. Like as we were talking about it, I thought to myself, I was like, dang, that magazine came true. And all the people of that article did it at age 50. So for the sake of hip hop, at least my dream came true, and all my childhood heroes are still making money doing rap and hip hop. So it's a nice little story. Rap Masters magazine.
I don't know if you saw this, is way off the topic of Bone, but again, this all happened right before coronavirus. I actually my co-host on my other show, we talked about this. Flavor Flav got kicked the fuck out of Public Enemy over that Bernie Sanders rally. He
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they officially kicked him out. There's a big Chuck D Flavor Flav beef because Chuck D basically owns the whole shit. Nobody's got any say over, any say over Public Enemy at all except for Chuck D, and he was basically like, Flavor Flav can get the fuck out. It's so crazy to me to kick a guy like Flavor Flav out of the group at this point in the game, but I guess it's not impossible. It feels like Bizzy's not in this group right now. I know the projection from every member is no, he's still in the group. He's just doing different stuff. But as a fan, this smells very familiar to Bizzy's not being in the group. And a lot of fans tell me I'm fucking crazy, that's not what's going on. But man, it feels like Bizzy Bone's not in this group.
Yeah. Well, the Flavor Flav thing, it's surprising because he's just like you said with Busy. Flavor and Professor Griff always seem to be getting kicked out and brought back in. If you think about it, in like '98, Chuck D went solo when he made that he got game song. So the Chuck D Flavor Flav dynamic as people, they just never seemed. They were such an odd couple that I always wondered how they were friends, but they were friends. They used to drive trucks together, and before they were rappers. But just and especially their politics, they never seemed to be on the same page with that either, and even their economics. But that oddness brought them together. And the other part too is what I try to tell. We were talking about the economics of rap. Even though Chuck D's the rapper, the draw of Public Enemy back in the '80s was definitely the clock and Flavor Flav saying, "Yeah, boy." Like all little kids loved Flavor Flav. They didn't understand the politics that Chuck D was saying. The older kids did, but I think it was the young kids, and Public Enemy became like a novelty when they made that "Can't Give It Up" song. Give it up, give it up. Yeah, the video was claymation, and it broadcasted on mainstream television in prime time, just like Michael Jackson used to have prime time. They actually stopped like TV shows to put Public Enemy "Can't Give It Up" on TV, and it was claymation.
And I think rappers and people that were into rap music, they they knew Chuck D, but the average person, because Public Enemy was so much bigger than just rap music, the average person knew Flavor Flav.
Yeah.
So that's the interesting thing about that. Matt, I want to thank you for calling in and being our long-term co-host with us tonight. Before we wrap up with you, is there anything else you want to talk about the Bone Thug world?
No, I just want to say, like I always say, I appreciate you guys. There's no one else doing what you guys are doing, and it fills a huge gap in my bone fixation.
Hell yeah.
And so there's so much work that goes into this thing that I don't know if other people know about or say thank you or appreciate you guys.
My man.
I can't even imagine how much time and effort, 80% of a meeting happens outside of the meeting, right?
Oh,
so thank you both, and I'll support you guys always, whatever we can do.
Did you see the Thugs Cry video? I've been meaning to talk about my Thugs Cry video. Did you see Thugs Cry?
I watched it a couple times. I really liked. I just enjoy things. Like I don't go crazy deep with everything in life. And once you were saying all that stuff, it's like, man, this is like I'm watching like a murder show where they pick it apart to death. That's true. They did do that. That's true.
Yeah.
I didn't notice their uniforms were different colored, but man, that was like you put together a whole dissertation on like the most minute thing in like how many people in the world have even seen Thugs Cry video, right?
Yeah.
But I remember it really took me back, man. When I was that age, I was just wide-eyed. What on earth? This is the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And to dissect it at this age was a huge nostalgia trip. It was so much fun. It was a blast. And then, John, you did the Big Daddy one, right? For Crazy?
Yeah, Crazy Bone back in the day song.
I had a blast with that too. They were both. I watched both of them 2 times. So both of you guys, you guys are way more hardcore than I'll ever be. That was those were a trip. I loved them.
It's funny because we've been. Go ahead, John.
Did you? I think you called him before, right? Like this isn't our first time talking, is it?
No, I think it's our third.
Third time. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Like I'm like, man, I know we've spoken. So yeah, okay, good. Well, thanks for calling in all these times.
I was gonna say. We've been really kind of like towing the line between are we going to do more stuff like that or are we going to bring the interviews back? I think people love the interviews, but coincidentally, like the interviews get a very minimal appeal in terms of what people watch and viewership. The biggest viewership that we get are from the Thugs Cry videos, the things like that, which makes us go, hey, this is what fans actually want. And of course, I love seeking out the interviews, locking them down, making them happen, uncovering those tidbits. But from a view perspective, very few of those get watched and enjoyed. The big videos are, decoding our the hip hop song and the Big Daddy Kane one that you said, the Thugs Cry one. I did that. The Creeping on a Come Up 10-track Theory one was another big one that we did. That was a couple years ago. So we've been really kind of deciding what kind of videos we're gonna do because they both take a lot of time. The interviews take some time to put together, but those take time in a different way than like a Thugs Cry. The Thugs Cry was that sucked my soul. You asked Johnny, that was a every day, all day. I didn't do anything else with my life except for Bone, which isn't usually what we do. This is a very side project that we do.
Oh, I can tell. So I think that makes me respect your time even more, that I can tell it's obviously not your full-time or your part-time job. It's that after thing. But I will be very selfish and I say I live for the interviews.
Yeah.
Because I think you two are in a very unique position that you're able to set these interviews up successfully, but they're also very well done. They're never crappy, and you never... I couldn't dream that you two would ask the wrong questions, right? Because they wouldn't come on the show otherwise. So I think you two hold a very unique position in the Bone world because you have the platform to get these people on and they want to come on. You can tell they want to be there. So I live for the interviews, but I'm speaking for myself.
It's interesting because I think our interviews have created a different standard, almost like the normal Bone Thugs interview is... people talk about Wish Shot Crazy Bone, and they took a bus to L.A.
So sick of that.
So we don't talk about those things at all. And I think that, especially for the Mo Thug guys, I think we've really given a platform where they get to tell their story correctly. You could tell it was a very important interview. Especially, I always think of the Mo Hart interview. The Mo Hart interview, I think, was a special interview because it was like we hadn't heard Mo Hart like that. The Archie interview. We were Archie's only fucking interview in his entire run. He's never done an interview except for Beyond the Harmony. And to be able to tell Archie's story, it was like, I feel like we talk about these guys. A lot of them are hitting 50. Man, I don't want to have a time in this Bone Thugs world where we don't hear those stories from these guys. And I think that's why what we do is important because, again, we're not asking those basic, what was it like to work with Bone? We know what the fuck it was like. Like, we don't even need to ask that question. We know, right? So it's like we ask the real crazy questions and, yeah, man, I appreciate it. I know John does. We had no idea what this channel would be like, what these shows would be like, and we've done some crazy shit. Some of my favorite interviews are the weirder ones. The guy like Jason Bibb who designed Faces of Death. He's like, I never thought in a million years I'd be interviewed for a show about designing this thing when I was a kid for Bone, but here we are. And interviews like that are some of my favorites. The real offbeat relics.
Me too. You can't find it anywhere else, even if you tried.
My man.
And I guess the last question would be, who would you like to see interviewed? We can't guarantee it, but you had the choice.
Man, part of it, honestly, part of it is the element of surprise for me. I might throw a weird one out there. I'm actually going to say DJ Ice. I really like him. And he knows probably a lot more about hip hop than he'll probably ever say, but I always just really enjoyed him. I'm not sure, but it might be cool to see someone who stayed with hip hop, whereas some of the folks that you guys are able to connect with have gone other ways. I don't know.
DJ Ice is running a bar/club venue in Ohio, and there's a reason why I know what I just said, and you just never know what's going to happen in season 3. Matthew Weaver, I want to thank you for being a Beyond the Harmony fan and calling in and rocking with us tonight, brother. You have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good night.
Have a good one.
Well, John.
Hey, man. I said it would be a success if we got the fans in here, because that's what this is all about. And that was cool, man. That was really awesome getting a chance to meet Matt on a bigger level.
He's an
today.
awesome fan. And this is what I like about these shows are it's cool that we can have a Matt Weaver calling into. He was just on the line with us, I think, for most of the fucking show. We're 2 hours 15 minutes into this stream. He was on with us before we were an hour in, I think. You know, so and that's what's cool is we could kick it with him. Nobody else was, I was watching. If somebody else would have been trying to get in, I would have brought him in. Nobody else is trying to get in. So it was really cool. A couple things going on in the chat. Albert says Romeo Antonio was his favorite. Brian Mock says, I think Kermit is the missing piece. I've tried to get Kermit on. Kermit agreed a couple times, and then it didn't work out. Tried to get him for season 3, and he wasn't available to do season 3. So hopefully we can get him in the future. What else? I saw somebody else say something in here about.
I got something. I got something I wanted to bring up. I didn't want to put Matt on the spot just in case because he said he wasn't into hip hop.
Capone interview was wild. Yeah, Capone interview was wild. Capone's my man. Shout out to Capone. Capone was one of the original. Listen, when I first structured this and pitched this idea to John, this is years before we did it. Capone and K Chill were the original. For some reason, those were the two out of all the people that you could want to interview, out of all the people that you could say this is who we're going to talk to. Capone and K Chill were the two guys that I kept saying, John, we're going to get this fucking show. We're going to interview these affiliates. There's these two guys, K Chill, and there's another one named Capone. And I'm just pitching the story, and I'm like, these are captivating stories to hear. And of course, like the Soulja Boys, the fucking Poetic Hustlers, guys like that, they were obviously on the list too. But I kept pitching those two to John over and over. And this is years before it ever happened. And they were one of the, those were two of the first interviews we did.
And the whole, I don't even think I told you this, the whole time when you were pitching Capone to me, I thought you were talking about Mr. Capone E. And I was like, and I was like, well, I guess that'd be kind of interesting, and then when it turned out to be Capone, it's funny, like there's something so heartwarming about that Capone interview. Like that is a favorite of mine too. That was fun. And I really loved your trailers for the Capone and for the K Chills.
Oh yeah. I wish I had time to do all those still, because I think those brought so much oomph to the show back then.
Yeah, I love those so much. But the what I wanted to ask you and everybody else is this is a current event that's happened this week, and actually happened a couple of days ago. Is that out of nowhere, and some people are asking if this is a Mandela effect. Some people are saying, how's this possible? I don't remember this happening. But a Old Dirty Bastard Shimmy Shimmy Ya remix with E40 and what was it, MC8. There's a music video, came out of nowhere. Now, I vaguely remember there being a remix, and I remember thinking, gee, that's really strange that Old Dirty got E40 and MC8. I thought the E40 made sense because E40 was kind of strange at the time. Like E40 has more of like a serious persona now, but back then he kind of had like a comedic kind of feel in the same way Old Dirty. I mean, these guys are rough guys, but they had like fun novelty type songs. And so E40 made sense, but MC8, I was just like, man, how does MC8 make sense with Old Dirty and E40? So anyway, regardless, I barely remember the remix, but I did not remember seeing a music video at all. The video came out of nowhere. People are losing their minds because they're seeing a 1995 music video that they never saw. And the guy, Old Dirty's alive, first off. You know what I'm saying? And so like as I'm watching this, I'm thinking, man, I hope we find out that there's some old Bone music videos that, Bone has all these songs that they've never released, songs that we don't even know exist. But I hope that some music videos start showing up, kind of like for Chasing the Devil. That Crazy Bone Chasing Nightmares video just came out of nowhere. And the Wise Fool video just came out of nowhere. Cloudy came, everybody was expecting Cloudy, but there's two other videos that they just kind of just popped up one day. And but not just with Bone, but I hope to find out that there's all kinds of Snoop videos, Tupac videos. I bet you there's a lot of Dog Pound stuff we never saw, but that video, I saw it. I was blown away just to see something I never saw. I'm just wondering how everybody else is feeling. And just so you know, in the comments, people are saying that the video only had the rights to be released in Europe. I don't even know how that's possible. And I guess the rights expired or somebody just bootlegged it to the internet. But it's out there, All Dirty, Shimmy Shimmy Ya, E40, and MC8. Did you get a chance to see it yet, Cecil?
I did when you sent the link. I decided to look, and I saw all the I saw ODB and all the fire and all the '90s looking shit, and yeah, I thought it was awesome. But what was more awesome was when you tell me something like, "Is this the Mandela effect?" I'm like, "Nah, John, you're just fucking disconnected and you miss shit from hip hop. Like this has always been here." So I was just like, well, I don't know about this, though. Has this always been here? What the fuck is going on? And then you said, bro, everybody in the comments is like, how'd I miss this? How'd I miss this? And I was like, shut the fuck up. So I had to go look. And I looked at the comments, and it's just full of people like, is this a parallel dimension? Like, and I'm just like, what the fuck is going on here? And it makes me think of, first of all, are there Bone videos we haven't seen? I don't know. I feel like there's enough. Well, who the fuck knows? Because, we found out through Shutterboy that there's the We Live in It video that was filmed, and that never, saw the light of day. And even though that's not like a crazy Bone song, like, it just adds validity to that could happen. Let me ask you this. I think I told you this. Tech Nine, years and years and years after Stamina, decided to do a Stamina music video. Okay, out of nowhere. Yeah, it's just him standing there doing the fucking Stamina thing, just like it's live. But there's a Stamina music video that he did, what feels like 10 years after the song, and a ton of his fans loved it. I was in the middle. Like, should you be doing this? And like, part of me was like, yeah, of course. Like, good music never dies. Who gives a fuck, right? I'd rather have a video than not. And then the other half of me was like, nah, you're doing a video, so far after the fact. It's not the same. How would you feel about Bone? And I'll ask this for the chat too. How would you feel if Bone decided to go back and say, well, okay, it's Art of War, it's 1997, it's 2020. We'll say it's 2021 by the time they do it. It's 2021. We're going to go back and we're going to do some Art of War videos. How would you feel about that?
Bro, I would beg for it. I would even I would even donate money to make that happen.
You would be okay with them saying we're going to tackle some Eternal videos.
Yes, please. Oh my God, please, bro. In fact, I don't even want videos for new songs. I just want them to do the ones that they didn't do. I think we had a like, especially Mo Murder. I know they wouldn't do that one, and obviously Thug Love, but we did a question of the day on that a long time ago, and I don't remember what our answers were.
Yeah.
But one of the two of us had like the ultimate answer, and it was like, yeah, bro, we need a video for that one. Holy smokes.
I know in that question of the day we talked about like Notorious Thugs and how you would do that without Big E, and that, it got into that and that kind of shit. I can't remember though. You are right. There was one that we were like, that would be the ultimate. I think I would be okay with it, but it's because Tech Nine at the time he did it, he was kind of niche where like his fans were his fans and his fans made the rules, and if they said it was okay, it's okay. And I think it's the same thing. Like a general fan would be like, "What the fuck are you guys doing a video from '95?" But I think Bones fans would be just like you. This is awesome. This is awesome.
Yeah. Now there was two groups. I know one for sure, Nice and Smooth. They ended up doing a video from one of their own albums recently, like not recently, but in the last 5 years. That was pretty cool to see, but it was kind of meh. Like it was cool. I was happy that it got made, but it didn't blow me away. And I was a Nice and Smooth fan back as a kid. What kind of disappointed me was there's a new Smooth B. He's the Smooth from Nice and Smooth B. He's got a new single, and it's like he's degraded, and like I didn't want to see that. And I think MOP remade one of their old songs like as of recent. But something I found, and this I don't know if I told you this yet. When I was making the Crazy Bone video about Nothing But the Music, that last one I did, I did a lot of research while making that, and I found all kinds of things I didn't know. Now, my first favorite rap group was the Fat Boys. And I mentioned the Fat Boys in that Crazy Bone song because well, I didn't mention it. Crazy Bone mentions them. And when I was looking them up, I found two things that I never knew about my favorite group as a kid. One, they were in a movie called Knights of the City, and they perform in jail, which later became known as the Jailhouse Rap on their first album. But in jail, it's like a different version of that song. And the movie itself, the movie seemed to be like The Warriors, the show, that the movie you like.
Yeah.
But in the movie, Curtis Blow was also in it, and this other guy was also in it. I was gonna say it's like either Roger or Zap, but I don't think it's them two. I feel bad like even saying that it's them. It's somebody else famous. They're only in one scene, but it's pretty. Oh, and I think the Beastie Boys might have been in it too. So it's called Knights of the City. Nobody even knows about it. It was an Italian film made in 1984 or 1986. So I just want to let people know, if anybody's a Fat Boys fan or a Curtis Blow fan, look up Knights of the City, Fat Boys, Curtis Blow. It's going to blow you away. And this is at the beginning of the Fat Boys before they got commercialized. So it's like the real hardcore Disco 3, real New York flavor that the Fat Boys originally had before they became a cartoon. Also, check this. I don't know how I didn't know this. I asked all my friends. They didn't know this. The Fat Boys made a song with the Refrigerator Perry from the Chicago Bears.
You told me.
I don't know if...
Yeah, he told me.
Yeah. So I'm just letting everybody else know that the Fat Boys did a song with the Fridge, and I wish I saw that as a kid, because I would have never... My friends would have hated me because I would have played it till it was dead. I love the Fridge. My favorite play in NFL history, just so you know, is when the Fridge scored a touchdown. They handed it off to the Fridge, and the announcer said, "That's the first refrigerator to score a touchdown."
Ha ha ha.
And it's always stuck with me.
Some good.
So anyway,
good dad humor right there.
And the last thing is, I'll add my favorite comment that was on the Old Dirty Bastard Shimmy Shimmy Ya. Somebody said, "Thanks, CERN." You provided a classic. That's a Mandela effect thing.
Yeah.
Everybody blames CERN. But yeah. So a lot of cool, weird stuff is starting to come out. Old Dirty Bastard stuff. Old rappers making new videos. Tech Nine, Fat Boys coming up with stuff I never knew existed. And that's what happens when you research. You stumble upon things.
We're winding down here. It's been a long episode. Beyond the Harmony 99 at gmail.com on Skype. If anybody wants to do a last minute call in and talk to me and the one and only John Lippy, Beyond the Harmony 99 at gmail.com on Skype. Add me. We'll bring you in. We had Matt Weaver all night with us. And, it was we had a tough time kicking off tonight. I think it took a lot of the steam out. But it turned out to be a great episode. Matt Weaver saved the fucking episode, John.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and to anybody who has been with us from the beginning, we apologize for the technical difficulties. The YouTube software changed, and,
two things changed. Skype did some weird shit to me. OBS did some weird shit, and then YouTube's been running a big change across its whole platform. So I was trying to get King Rob to call in. Let's see here. I was trying to get King Rob to call in just to tell me what he's found out about his swords. That's like my favorite fucking part of the episode is these swords. I meant to tell you too, when we were talking coronavirus and all the the shit that we talked about with Bone and Corona at the beginning. Did you see that the Life put out a Bone Thug shirt called "Burn the Virus," and it's just like a big on fire like Corona cell.
And I saw that. And I cracked up about that shirt. I wondered who bought that, and it made me think of somebody made a mock-up Madden 2020 cover, and it's just got the Corona icon.
As the cover.
Yeah, that's who made the cover this year for Madden was Corona.
As Corona.
So yeah, I don't know how they're gonna keep us inside for another month, but
yeah,
let's see how it goes.
I don't know. It could be good for you guys. It could make for some good Beyond the Harmony if right now it's kind of crazy, and it's got our lives kind of crazy, so I haven't really been able to do any Beyond the Harmony. But another month of quarantine, and I don't have much to do. There's a Beyond the Harmony video, and keep in mind, I pitched this Thugs Cry video to John for a long time before it got done. And I don't know what that process is in my mind, but there's a process in my mind. And there's another video I've been pitching to John pretty hard. I wouldn't say it's as epic as Thugs Cry, but I feel it's pretty epic. And I want to get to work on it, but man, when I sign up to do one of those, it really takes it out of me. But right now, I mean, hey, I got that quarantine time.
Yeah, and the week and a half, the 2 weeks, well, it was even longer leading up to it, but when you actually sat down to knock out that Thugs Cry, that was a pretty fun week for me. Like, I enjoyed collaborating ideas, like bouncing ideas with you, and all the little clips you were sending.
Oh,
and
I was so tired.
Like, I forgot what I was doing in my life at the time, but there was something fun going on for me too, and like you as the backdrop was kind of cool. It just, everything blended together. It was a cool time. But I even enjoyed it like 2 years ago and 3 years ago when you were telling me that you wanted to do it, and then you lost the script and then you found it.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun too, trying to locate it, because that gave us an opportunity to clean up some of our Beyond the Harmony files that we have saved over 2.5 years. And so that was cool. I'm looking forward to that next video that you got coming.
I kind of missed it with Corona, but I wanted to do a live kind of Q&A about the Thugs Cry, and because the process was, people have no idea that the process getting there, like John said, it was a couple years on and off in the making. I had a script written, the script got lost. I found a screenshot of the script in a conversation between John and I was able to rewrite it. Come to find out, the screenshot that I found, like back when I wrote it, I was like, oh, this is the whole video. Like, I lost the script, I lost the whole video. Well, when I rewrote it, I was like, this ain't shit. Like, that was like 10% of what the video ended up being. But the breakdown was phenomenal. It's my favorite video on the channel. And it really, dude, like, I just said Matt Weaver, I'm like, we really, like, this is our side thing. But that week of doing Thugs Cry, like, I didn't do anything. That's why I'm scared to sign up for this other video. I was staying up extremely late. I was getting up early. I would get up early. I would go to the gym. I would bang it out at the gym for a couple hours. I would leave the gym, come home, eat lunch, and then I would work on fucking Thugs Cry until I couldn't keep my eyes open. And I repeated it for 7 days until the fucking thing was done. And just like the lunacy of, I was as crazy as Bizzy Bone at the end of the video, okay? By the time it got out, like I was escaping the fucking jail by the end of that video.
If our little Voxer communication, if we could go back that far, all of our combos probably make for a good episode. I should have remembered to save them at the time. But there's also there's one piece of business that I need to make sure I bring up. I can't believe I forgot to bring it up this far.
Okay.
But Excel Beats and Blaze made a song together.
Yes, they
did. It's called
did.
The World Belongs to Us, and I love it. It's everything I wanted in a song. I'm partial to Excel Beats, and I'm a big fan of Blaze. So to get those two guys together on a song together, I think the song is beautiful from beginning to end. It's short. It has a real new waves vibe to it. It's happy, and I think I'm going to take part of that song and make that my theme intro for some of my other channels when I do my thing, because I love it that much. So if you guys haven't heard Blaze and Excel Beats, The World Belongs to Us, check it out. I love it, but it's the happy harmony stuff. It's not the thuggish ruggish. So, but I love it.
I love that it's two very big Beyond the Harmony affiliates collaborating together. They're collaborating together. It's kind of unexpected. Like, yes, they're both connected to the Bizzy Bone camp, but like, I don't connect Blaze and Excel. Excel is kind of from like a different Bizzy Bone camp. Like, Blaze is almost like his own thing, so you don't necessarily just expect them together, so it was like, when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is fucking cool. Like, this is two really talented, really talented Bizzy Bone affiliates, and I hate to refer to them like that. They obviously have their own outside of Bizzy Bone thing. I'm just saying in terms of our world. Um, but like in our world, they're Bizzy Bone affiliates, and it was so cool to see them working together, doing this song, and the song sounds great. In term like you got two guys that really know what the fuck they're doing. You know, so it sounded really great. I also like the artwork. All I assume that's Blaze, but I don't know because Excel's really good too. But I thought all the artwork they did was really cool for it. It's awesome. I hope I see him do more shit. It was really happy for Cecil West, like the type of happy that makes my teeth hurt. You had mentioned on Vox like I do like some happy ass songs like that, and I couldn't think of any. But then I was like, there are some. So I don't know what it is that makes me love certain ones, and other ones I'm just like, But this song was great because they're two affiliates that I want to see win. And both those guys have done a lot for the show. Those are two heavy contributors to the show. So it was awesome to see them work together.
And now that it's happened, back around September when Carbon Monoxide was coming out, Excel was texting me saying, "Hey man, this is on the down low. You can't let anybody know. You can't even let Cecil know. But Blaze and myself, we're working on a project together. Wait until you hear it." And now that it's finally out, I'm letting you know.
Yeah.
It's been a long time in the works. They were working on it since at least 5, 6, 7 months ago.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And
I hope they do more.
Yeah, it sounded like they had a whole project planned, or maybe a 5-track out. But it's probably going to be dependent on how this first single goes. And like you, I really love that artwork they did, and I also like how it's also kind of a new piece of art, a new kind of marketing, where it's like an animated GIF with sound, like it's a multimedia piece.
Yeah, it's like an animated cover. Yeah, it's been a newer thing the last couple of years. I've seen more and more people doing.
So that was definitely cool, and the art was great. Everything about it's great. I haven't had a chance to call Excel on the phone. He had called the other day, but I couldn't pick up. And actually, we didn't even talk about Clay. I guess that'll be for another one when he gets on the show. But we've released a lot of Brother Clay material.
We did release
including
a lot of Brother Clay material.
That movie,
a whole documentary, music video, songs, Bizzy Bone and Brother Clay, Faces and Places, the Misery pre-release, fucking 2 or 3 Clay singles, a 2-part documentary. There's a 3rd part being worked on. Brother Clay, quite possibly the biggest contributor to Beyond the Harmony of all time. He's got to be the biggest contributor to the show in terms of affiliate contributions.
For sure. Yeah, no, big shout to Brother Clay if he hears this later on, and for all the contributions. Big part of the show, big part.
Yeah.
In fact, yeah. So,
predating, we talked about this with Clay recently, but if it wasn't for Brother Clay and his connection to John and bringing John out to L.A. to be with Bizzy during the Misery recording, who knows? That was such a big boot in the ass. We had been talking about Beyond the Harmony for so long, and I was just so busy, and finally Johnny just kind of ran with it. He got this opportunity and put Beyond the Harmony on it, and that kind of made me go, whoa, you can't do this thing without me. And then you remember the thing that actually made us do it was I saw that Lazy was going to put Mo Thug's greatest hits out, and we're having such a riveting conversation about the Mo Thug greatest hits, and we're doing it over Voxer, and you were like, listen, why don't we just finally just record this just to see what happens? And it was like, all right, fine, we're gonna record this tonight. Mo Thug's greatest hits. It was a four-parter, and it's episode number 1. Episode number 1. Mo Thug's greatest hits. And it's crazy to think of where we've been since then.
Absolutely crazy. And there was also another thing we talked about that night. Once we did the Mo Thugs and once we locked in Feenics Ryzin, there was that third thing that we had wanted to do that we haven't done yet. We probably won't ever do. It was the Bone convention. You want to speak on that at all?
So, yeah, I don't mind putting this out here because it's either an idea that I'll make happen, or if this idea was to get stolen and done by somebody else, I wouldn't even feel bad. I would attend and be happy. I would actually hope that they would want John and I to be a part of a event like this. Uh, the same way there's comic book conventions, and if any of you have ever been to a comic book convention, here's the way it goes. You go, there's usually a panel, they talk. There's different tables. You go to each table, you meet your favorite Ninja Turtle, your favorite superhero, your favorite horror movie person. You get a picture with them, you get an autograph, whatever. That shit usually, costs money. And, I want to do a one-day event called ThugCon. And ThugCon would be full of all the affiliates and hopefully Bone too, but I think it'd be hard to get them involved at the beginning. But you'd have different affiliates, and we'd do that same situation. You'd be able to meet each one. Each one of them would have a table. I wouldn't call it Bone Con because that's a bone thing. So I want to call it Thug Con because that would allow me to go bigger than just bone, which we've made the show about more than just bone. So that's why we were going to call it Thug Con and not Bone Con. But so you'd table each one. Hopefully they have some kind of music, whatever, but they'd at least have like a photo, and you get to meet them just like you would at a comic convention. And we'd have a Q&A kind of panel as well, and then some sort of performance to end the night. And I've thought that would be a great one-day kind of event. I see events like that happen for all kinds of shit. In fact, John had mentioned The Warriors being one of my favorite movies, and I was a very big part of a Warriors online forum for years. And that forum helped make a thing called the Conclave happen every year, and they would meet in Coney Island. And when they would go to Coney Island for this big thing, it would be that same thing. They'd have a bunch of people that were in the Warriors movie, not just the Warriors themselves, but even people that were in some of the gangs that were in the movie for just like 2 seconds. They'd have a bunch of them. And then they'd have the panel and all that kind of shit. And that was just for one movie. It's not a particularly huge movie, but the event did good. And I was like, man, that would be a great event for us to do. You could do it in Ohio, but probably the place you really get away with doing that is, in California. I see Shudder in here right now. And, probably out by Shudder is the place that you do something like ThugCon. Although, if you're not going to do it in California, then you definitely do it in Ohio. Those would be the 2 places you would do it. And I think that maybe not initially, Bone probably doesn't give a shit about anything like that. But if you can get 2 or 3 years of it being successful, which I think it would be just for the fans alone. I think that the fans themselves, even if they are not necessarily overly souped up to take pictures with affiliates, which I think they would be, but I'm saying even if they didn't care about that piece that much, just the unity of getting with all the other Bone fans and Mo Thug fans in one big place, and that Comic Con feeling that they get at a Comic Con. I think that would get created, and the fans would want to do it just to be with other fans.
Yeah, man. The mental exercise of what a Thug Con would look like and would be like, it's a fantasy. Like, I don't know how profitable that could be. I don't even know, like, even if we had all the money in the world and we just did it for the love, I don't even know how we could arrange that. Like, if everybody's showing up.
Oh, Johnny, come on. You know your boy. I do big shit.
Yeah.
I do big shit. In fact, organizing that is like minor compared to what you saw me organize. Nobody has to spend the night on fucking drugs and camping situation. And my festival was like a crazy situation compared to, something like ThugCon. I think the biggest obstacle with ThugCon would be you're dealing with a lot of variables in people with all those affiliates that aren't necessarily active. So getting one of them to pledge, 3 days of their life, because, they got to fly in, they got to be part of it, they got to fly out. It's at least a 3-day thing. Asking, people like Jazz and Brina to take 3 days out of their regular life that I'm sure is very established. That'd be hard unless the money was probably right for them.
Yeah.
That may be why
Yep.
you'd have to do it in Ohio, because, you know, if we did it in Ohio, then the travel's real light, you know, for a lot of those Mo Thugs.
Yeah, I wonder what the collecting is like in Ohio. You know, I wonder. You would think there'd be more bone collectors there, but I don't know. Like I'd like to see a collector's exhibit. You know, if we found out who some of the best collectors are, they could display. I mean, I guess it would be a security risk for them to bring some of their merch, but or some of their prized possessions. But like a museum or like a show, like comic book shows, like you were saying. Some people bring their comic collections to show off, and
Yeah.
it'd be cool to see some people's bone collections, especially if somebody had that sword. You know what I'm saying? Somebody has the sword, somebody has the crystal ball, somebody has access to the collection that Rob J had, some of the neat stuff that he had planned for that museum, which is never going to happen now, I guess. So
Yeah, I think the first one would have to be a real small endeavor, obviously, to kind of get it
yeah,
going. But once you did one, and that my first fest was very small, and it made a big fire for the second one. Once you do one, and the people talk about how cool of an experience it was, that Warriors Conclave, people were flying in from all over the fucking world to come be part of that. To go to, they were
yeah,
flying in from all over the world to go to Coney Island for the weekend, and hang out with the Warriors and shit. And I think that's the experience too, is like, hey, fly into Cleveland and hang out with, the Mo Thugs for the weekend. Ask them questions on the Q&A. It would almost be like a live Beyond the Harmony, except the fans would be there. You'd set it up just like a Q&A. And then, you'd have the vend kind of table area. So you'd have, and I mean, I would have affiliates from Mo Thugs 1 all the way up to whoever would get involved now, and anything in between, from a Blaze and a Shutter down to fucking, a Two True and a Soldier Boy, whoever would be involved, so you have those tables set up. And then at night you have some kind of performance. A few of them perform, and I think that's a fucking worthwhile thing to fly in as a fan and be part of. And who knows that? But that's the big. That was the big when we set all the goals for the show. We've actually reached most of the goals except for ThugCon.
yeah, yep. So there you have it. I think we released two big secrets of Beyond the Harmony tonight. It was the ThugCon and the name of the St. Clair Thugs, Family Crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't explain the idea behind Family Crisis and how it's the perfect name, the most like logical conclusion from family scriptures, family reunion. Although then it became Mo Thug Mothership and Mo Thug the Movement.
Yeah, that's all right.
But to take it back to what people wanted, it was the first two, the family ones. So you got the family reunion, the family scriptures, the family reunion, and then the family crisis. And this is where I'll turn it to you. Where did you come up with that name as the perfect name for the album?
I don't remember. I think you came up with that name.
No. Well, maybe I did, but it came from your favorite song.
Yeah, well, it definitely comes from Can't Give It Up, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think each of us came up with something. I think I came up with the name of the group.
Okay. Yeah. You know what it was?
And then
I think we came up with, it was when we were doing, because I was looking at the lyrics, because you were big on that, we ended up doing the one is Can't Give It Up, or they dissing each other. So I looked at the lyrics just to see what you were talking about, because I never took it that way until you brought it up, and I was looking at it, I'm like, all right, let's see what's on here. And then I saw, he says, the family reunion turned into a family crisis, and I was like, oh, this is the name right here.
Yeah.
If we do that Mo Thug album, this is the name.
Yeah.
We got the name. And for us, like for you and I, it's all about finding that perfect discovery, that first line to our rap song to build the rest, the single, and I was just like, man, Family Crisis, holy cow. That's so perfect. So.
And I can tell you how I came up with Sinclair Thugs. And it always goes back to wrestling, John. How does it always come back to wrestling with me? But it always comes back to wrestling and how the wrestling business is run. And when Vince McMahon or a big company owns uh, a group's name, okay, and they leave that company and then they reunite in a different place, they always come up with some name that wasn't quite their name, and it's like you hear it and you're like, oh, that's them, but under a different name. And it was like, well, we can't call them Mo Thugs, right? Like, I couldn't do that. That doesn't make sense. And I didn't like
Yeah.
when Soulja Boy and all them were doing that reunion and they were gonna call it like the originals. I hated that. I did not like that at all.
Yeah.
But Sinclair Thugs,
Yeah.
that's like saying Mo Thugs without saying Mo Thugs. That's like a totally different thing. That's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the St. Clair Dogs, it's in fact, what song is that? The it's on the Fleshbone song, West East Side, North Side.
West side, east
Does,
side, north side. Yeah.
yeah, doesn't at the beginning of North Side, doesn't he say funk with the St. Clair Thugs, be a Clair player? Yeah, so that's a perfect name. Perfect name.
Every time I
And
hear it, I always think of when I first got into Bone on the internet. There was a big website called the SCT Warzone, and
oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
SCT Warzone was fire. It was part of like the big five at that time. And
Yeah.
SCT Warzone was, DNA Level C, SCT Warzone, the Bone Board at that time. Those were the big ones, and I always think of SCT Warzone. That website was great. That might
Yeah, I was intimidated by that one. Like that one, I was just like, man, these are SCT Warzone. I was like, the people here are just going to be so expert bone that I can't even step to their level, bro.
yeah, and they always had like
So
the exclusives and all that dope shit. So yeah, so we released some secrets. We talked to Matt Weaver. We somehow pulled a 3-hour episode, even with like 40 minutes of fucking fuck up at the beginning. The fucking up, it hurt the episode. We had a lot of people listening when we first came on, and then when I had to I knew that was gonna fuck it up. But that is what it is. We run with the punches, and it's been a good episode, Johnny.
yeah, and Albert has one good question that I actually am curious about too. He asked, "Was Cyrus at the Warrior Con?"
Oh, at the conclave.
Yeah, and if he was there, did he do a "Can you dig it"?
I don't. If I remember correctly, I don't think he is alive.
Ah, it did. Was if I was at that Comic
Is he
Con, right, at
alive?
the Warrior Con,
No,
I would hope that somebody
he's
was there at least
alive.
an MC.
He died. Okay, I just had to look it up. He died in 2014. I'm pretty sure he did a few cons.
Was he at the one you were at?
No, I didn't actually end up going. I helped organize and do some organization, and I didn't end up going down, which is crazy because I'm pretty close to it. But it just didn't work out for me to go to it. But I helped organize with the first one, and then they kept doing it after
Because
that.
because can you imagine, like, if you were organizing it, would you recreate the scene and then have him come out and say, "Can you dig it, suckers"?
Oh, if I was organizing it, that's how the whole shit would start. You'd have all the people get in there on day one. You'd have them fill in. You'd have the music from the movie playing, whatever. Nothing would really be going on. You'd have him walk out on the stage and deliver his full monologue from.
Can you smell it?
Yeah, you'd have him deliver the full monologue to all the people there and open up.
Oh, that
the
would
shit.
be pandemonium, bro.
Yeah.
Can you? I mean, oh.
Yeah, Roger Hill. I think he ended up doing. I think he ended up doing some of them before he passed away.
Oh man, I'm gonna dream about that tonight. To be in the crowd watching that, a reproduction of it, not in the movie, but I almost think the reproduction in real life, the recreation, would be the ultimate moment if I'm there with all Warriors fans, and just everybody's just there waiting for Cyrus to give the call, and that man. Oh man, that's that.
How do you feel when rappers remake like the Warriors movie's been remade in a few videos, Diplomats video, D12 video? How do you feel about rappers when they remake the the movies. Do you like that when they give the nod and you're like, oh, this is the entire Goodfellas, or are you kind of like, this is fucking corny, come up with some new shit?
It's a hit or miss, and there's even some that are bad that I like. Like for instance, and this is probably before your time, but when Kumo D did "I Go to Work," and it was like a 007 film, and it was so cheesy, but I was good with it. I think everybody else hated it, but I liked it. Uh, when Nas did "If I Rule the World," I think I was like on a I was like, I don't know if Tupac already had beef with Nas. Like whoever Tupac was mad at, I was mad at. So like I think I was like,
Yeah.
man, and actually, and two, I was also during that period of time, and I don't care now, but at the period of time, Puff Daddy was getting away with ripping off all kinds of songs, and people didn't even know it. And Nas ripped off two songs in one with "If I Rule the World," and it drove me nuts because Curtis Blow was the originator of "If I Rule the World." And I think the beat that he jacked was Houdini, One Love. And I was just like, man, Nas is getting so much more love for this track than Curtis Blow and Houdini got. So I was just hating on that. The song was good. And it was a third song that they even no, it was Lauryn Hill ripping Lauryn Hill did Curtis Blow. So like I was just a hater at the time on it. But looking back on it, that song really brought people together. People really loved Nas and Lauryn Hill. So I feel bad about that. It was cool that he had the Italian mobsters in it. But, if it's done good, I'm good with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm always it's interesting, right? Cuz I love the old mafia movies. So it's like I always kind of like to see the mob movies, or like I like when Pulp Fiction's in there. I like I liked when D12, even the ones I mentioned, the Dipset and D12 with the Warriors. I was like, this is good. These are good little nods. I like it, but some of them have been kind of corny.
And Determination, was that based on Pulp Fiction?
Yeah, that's a Pulp
I
Fiction.
like that. I thought that was what I liked about it too. One, I loved Fleshbone's glasses in the video. I thought they all looked really sophisticated. I liked the singing. I thought that video looked really good. I thought that was one of their best looking and best themed videos that they've
I
had.
love that video. I love that song. That's an underrated miss right there, and it's got a video with it. And I think it's because it was meant for like a weird DJ Unique project. But I thought the song was great. It's got them all, and the theme, yeah, like you said, that's a good one. And I found out that's a big one for Brother Clay. Brother Clay loves that one as well.
And I brought this up in like one of those like behind the scenes videos, but I don't know if I ever told you this. Speaking of I Go to Work, that came out when I was pretty young. I think I was like the early middle school, and I hadn't developed I'm not saying I'm the most intelligent guy in the world, but I've developed intelligence over time. And I remembered hearing I Go to Work, thinking how fast Kumo D was rapping on it. And it's funny because when you listen to it now, it's like it's not even considered fast. But I remembered feeling mentally challenged. When I say mentally challenged, I don't mean like, hey, he's mentally challenged, but I felt like literally mentally challenged to try to keep up with. I was scared of that song. Like the song, like music back then had these sound effects, and like everything about it would make my heart beat super fast.
Yeah.
And like he was so precise and articulate and specific and forceful in his rhymes on that song that it made me feel anxious, and it made me feel anxious that I was like, Kumo D is so light years smarter than me. If I listen to this song enough times, it's going to improve my intelligence. And kind of like listening to Bone for 25 years, your brain feels like you could process data so much faster than the average person. And so I think Kumo D was the beginning that led me to Bone, because like I noticed listening to him and the song by Queen Latifah's Had It Up to Here, and even Tretch from Naughty by Nature, the processing that your mind had to do, like we all do it now, but when you're young, your brain isn't fast enough. That's when you learn like hand-eye coordination with video games. You learn how to hit a baseball. So my mind wasn't developed enough to be able to process that quick. And like that song and all these things helped me think faster. So I don't know if that's the way for everybody else. I don't know if that's the way for you.
It's hilarious because
like
I feel like that about like rap fucking songs. Like I remember being a Bone fan, and then like I'd be around other people that liked other shit, and like if one of their favorite rappers finally rapped fast, they'd all be like trying to hear it, and it's like, bro, this isn't I got you. Let me listen to your favorite Fast Tupac verse, and I'll tell you what he said, bro. Like, no problem, homie. Like, I'm conditioned for this. I listen to Bone.
Yeah.
You know, and you'd always step up and don't worry, I listen to Bone. I got this. Let me listen. Let me listen to your guy.
Yeah, and what's crazy too is that I went back and listened to Creeping on a Come Up, and by today's standards, like some of that stuff's not even fast anymore. And I remember somebody pointed out, they're like, Bone, it's not so much that they were fast rappers, it was the harmonic flow and the different cadences that they did. And I was like, wow, okay, yeah. But they were always known as fast rappers. But like For the Love of Money, it's not even fast. Eazy-E rapped so slow on it that it made everybody else seem fast. But it's by today's standards, it's not even. It's like a Jason movie is not scary anymore.
Yeah.
And Old Bone, which seemed so fast that we're never going to be able to figure it out. Now I could hear it all now, and I don't know. It's just from years, but yeah, it's just weird.
Johnny,
Weird.
it's
Yep.
we hit 3 hours. I'm wrecked. We're actually 3 hours and 40 minutes with the meltdown, with the software meltdown.
Yeah.
I'm wrecked. I'm
I'm done too. It was a good night though, and it was
good.
It was good.
I already heard from
Good.
Matt Weaver. Matt Weaver already in my email saying he's down to help with ThugCon. Just let him know.
That's that's awesome.
He said if we can make it work in conjunction with Family Crisis, we got a great thing.
Bro, we should become like roadies with Matt Weaver touring Bone around the country.
I'm gonna bring Matt Weaver on the fucking show, bro. That's the guy. He saved the show tonight. I was done after an hour. If he wouldn't have called the fuck in, it was over.
Matt Weaver, MVP of the night.
Yes, sir. He is. All right, y'all. This is Beyond the Harmony. Beyond the Harmony live. BeyondTheHarmony.com. I am Cecil West, rocking out with my right hand man, the one and only
Jonathan Liffey. I jumped it on you, bro.
Yeah.
I'm ready to roll.
Hey, we're ready to roll. He's already out the door. We will catch you guys on the next one.
Beyond the harmony for the fans we celebrate. Uploading the videos every day.